One thing I just love about Gege Akutami's writing, the author of Jujutsu Kaisen, is his ability to create compelling and interesting side characters, to the point where we have people online screaming when their favorites get taken out, such as Nanami or Gojo Satoru. Today we're not talking about any of those goody two-shoes, no. Instead, we're going to be talking about a narcissistic scumbag character who somehow still has a cooler power set at the moment than Itadori Yuji, that being Naoya Zenin and his projection sorcery. Specifically, what if Naruto Uzumaki had projection sorcery? If you guys enjoy this and you want to see more Jujutsu Kaisen crossover what ifs, go check out my What If Deku Met Aoi Todo, where Izuku gains the power of Boogie Woogie. And if you like that, then, well, you've pretty much proven that you like what's going on here, so why not head down just beneath this video section here and click all the cool looking buttons. The red one, the bell one, the thumbs up one, and if you're on mobile, they've got this hype button. It's supposed to help out. Hell, even share the video with your friends if they like Jujutsu Kaisen and Naruto. Anyway, let's get into the story for what if Naruto had projection sorcery. The village hidden in the leaves, Konohagakure, a place of shinobi, of legends, and of powerful clans. Among them, the Uchiha and the Hyuga, those of the great Dojutsu, the Sarutobi, and the Zenin, a clan known for their ruthless efficiency, their formidable jutsu, and their iron-fisted traditions. This is the story of Naruto, but not the Naruto that you know. Our story begins on a deceptively peaceful afternoon, 4 years after the devastating Ninetales attack that destroyed the Leaf Village, the 4th birthday of a boy named Naruto Zenin, a boy whose life was carved into a different fate than it was originally meant to be. Ow! Get out of here, you demon brat! Stop gawking at my masks! You'll scare away all of my customers! The mask seller, a man whose heart was as shriveled as his old, peeling skin, thrust a small wooden mask directly into the boy's chest, pushing Naruto to the ground. But I just wanted to look! This one, it's got big ears just like a fox. Fox, you say? You're better suited for a demon mask. Now scram before I call the Uchiha police force on you. The vendor's words were laced with venom, prejudice, and they struck deeper than any physical blow could to Naruto. He felt so vulnerable. He felt the prick of tears in his eyes. He was never sure why. Why did some adults always look at him with such hatred? Why did they whisper about demons when he was around? He was just Naruto. He was just him. And he was trying so hard to be good. We hear the sound of heavy stone footsteps. Wham, wham, wham. What seems to be the trouble here, old man? The mask seller froze, his eyes widening in both recognition and fear as he looked up, towering over the stall, dressed in pristine white robes. Robes that labeled him as the Hokage. Was Minato Zenin, the 4th Hokage. But today, he was just the clan head of the Zenin, and the father of the boy on the ground who had lost his mother. Lord Hokage, my apologies. This child was causing a disturbance. A disturbance? Or was he simply looking at your wares? I saw you push him. The mask seller would gulp. No, Hokage, he stumbled. Is that so, Naruto? Did you stumble? Naruto would sniff, looking up towards Minato. No, father, he pushed me and called me a demon. Minato's eyes, normally a calm blue, would harden into chips of ice, the air around him dropping several degrees. The mask seller trembled visibly. I see. Selling masks, are we, huh? Maybe you'd prefer to sell them from a prison cell for a few weeks, maybe a year, to reflect on how you treat the son of the Hokage and the grandson of Naobito Zenin of this village. No, Hokage, please. I didn't mean it, I swear. Good. Then perhaps a formal apology to my son, and a promise to never again speak to him with such disrespect would be a good start. Otherwise, and I assure you, your stall will be gone tomorrow, and so will you. The mask seller, pale and shaking, would turn to Naruto. I am truly sorry, young master. Please forgive my insolence. Naruto, while still a bit dazed, would just stare. He wasn't used to adults being so afraid of him or to apologize to him so quickly. It felt odd. Their tone was so forced and tight. Minato would speak. "Get up, Naruto." His father would reach down, forcing his arm onto his son's and pulling him up from the ground. "We Zenin do not allow ourselves to be pushed around by commoners, especially not by those who've forgotten their place. Understand?" Naruto would wipe his nose, defiance entering his voice. Yeah, Dad. He was just a weakling anyway. Not like he could even stop me if he wanted to. To take all his masks." Minato would chuckle, a rare low sound, placing the hand back on Naruto's head. "That's my boy. Now, about that fox mask you wanted." Minato Zenin would pull out a pouch of Ryo, paying for the mask that Naruto desired. He'd buy the fox mask, and as they walked away, Naruto would clutch it, a small proud smirk replacing the tears he had earlier. It was a moment that perhaps solidified something for him. This world, it was split between the strong and the weak. The strong, like his father, were able to make the rules. He was a Zenin. He was the strong. And the weak would simply have to obey him. After all, he was the Hokage's son. From here, years will pass. Naruto grows, not just in stature, but in his confidence, or perhaps we should say overconfidence. Whispers of the Nine Tails never truly faded, but within the Zenin compound, under watchful, demanding eyes from his grandfather Naobito and his father Minato, Naruto was shielded and simultaneously forged into a prodigy. Even among the Zenin, he was renowned, for he was born with the terrifying power that made Minato known as the Yellow Flash, the Kekkei of projection sorcery, a technique that allowed him to divide 1 second into 24 frames of time, setting motions into a 24th frame and forcing his targets to follow those movements, or be frozen for an entire second. We'd hear the rustling of papers, kids chattering, and murmurs. In the Konoha Academy classroom, Naruto was an enigma. The village saw him as a privileged, arrogant brat who relied on his clan's power to get by, while his classmates saw a rival and a genius, and an insufferable pain in the rear. Naruto, are you even listening?" Iruka would say exasperatedly. In the Ninja Academy classroom, Iruka would rub his temples, staring at the blonde boy slouched in his chair, who would have a bored smirk on his face. "Yeah, of course, Iruka-sensei. You were just droning on about the proper way to make a clone jutsu, wasn't it?" What a waste of time. Laughters would echo around the room, a few snickers, and, of course, a few groans from their classmates, specifically Shikamaru. It's fundamental, Naruto. And stop with the smart remarks." Sakura would speak, whispering to Ino, "He's such a pig, always talking about himself." To her right, the dark-haired and also prodigy would mutter under his breath, "Annoying." "Huh? What was that, Sasuke? Did you say something? Or were you just grunting like a wild boar again? I can never tell with you, Uchiha. All your scowls and no substance. That's why all of you are dead." "What did you say, Zenin?" Sasuke would stand, slamming his hands into his desk, furious. That's enough, both of you. Sasuke, sit down. Naruto, I will not tolerate you antagonizing your classmates. This is an academy, not your home. You must respect your classmates." Naruto would roll his eyes, leaning back. "Oh, lighten up, Sensei. It's just a bit of friendly banter. Though I suppose some people are too dense to appreciate it. Especially the ones who can't even tell a basic genjutsu from a real illusion." His eyes would flick to Sakura, who would flush crimson. Naruto was referencing an earlier session where Sakura had struggled in genjutsu. Naruto, that's not fair. Don't bring that up." "Life isn't fair, princess. Just haven't learned that yet. Now, if you'll excuse me, my stomach says it's time for lunch, and I have no desire to listen to more of your..." His eyes would look up and down Iruka, squawking. Naruto would roughly push his chair back, walking out of the classroom. Naruto, get back here, Iruka would shout. But Naruto was already out the door, a trail of exasperation and annoyance left in his wake. The bell would ring and students would file out. Later, by the training grounds, they'd find Naruto practicing. His movements fluid, precise, and impossibly fast. He darted between training posts in a blur of motion, each strike so impossibly accurate, it was like they weren't even looking at reality. The sound of rapid, precise movements, we'd hear whoosh, 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 thwack, thwack, as Naruto whacked the training post. As he hit harder, Naruto would speak to himself. Too slow. Always too slow. Naruto's cousin, another member of the Zenin clan, was a year older and the same age as Rock Lee and Neji, would finally catch up to Naruto, screaming, "Naruto, wait up! Come on!" His sweat would drip from his brow. He was a decent shinobi, but nothing compared to Naruto. He was like a tortoise. "Naruto, you're going too fast." The blonde-haired boy would smirk, wiping his own sweat. "Exactly. That's the point, isn't it? If you can't see me, you can't touch me. And if they can touch me, well, then they'll become a pretty still life for a second, which would be more than enough time for a decisive blow." He'd throw a punch out. It's called perfection. Naruto would continue demonstrating his incredible ability, phasing through a series of hand signs with incredible speed and darting towards a training dummy. "Wind-style Gale Palm!" Using projection sorcery, Naruto had turned each hand seal into a frame, causing his hand seals to be almost instantaneous before launching a wind-style attack to destroy the dummy. Naruto's cousin would sigh. "So incredible. Minato must be very proud." Something unreadable would flicker in Naruto's eyes. Proud? He expects nothing less, and grandfather even more so. You know, they say I'm a prodigy. Naruto would gulp. "Even though I'm only a halfling. But I guess her Uzumaki blood doesn't slow me down too much. At least compared to you, Tobio." Huh? His cousin would say. "But what about the Ninetales? Do they ever..." "We don't talk about that. That night it's for the ignorant commoners to cling to. It has nothing to do with my abilities. Nothing to do with me. I'm a Zenin through and through. Don't you forget it." His cousin would fall silent. He knew better than to push Naruto on that topic. His bravado was a shield, thick and impenetrable. But that was just Naruto. Finally, the day had come. The day of Genin team selections. Naturally, Naruto would pass, being the talented prodigy and son of the Kage that he was. The classroom seemed to hum with anticipation. Everyone was excited and more so desperate to be placed on a powerful team, a strong team to prove their own worth. Naruto, however, simply watched the room with detached amusement. "What's there to worry about? You guys are either on my team or you're a loser." The door would open as Iruka enters, clearing his throat. "All right, everyone, settle down. I have our team assignments." Iruka beginning to read the names. Naruto would tune out, only listening for his own. "And Team 7, Sakura Haruno. Oh, please don't put me on a team with that guy. Sasuke Uchiha." Sakura would think, "Yes, Sasuke's with me." And Naruto Zenin. "No, why him? It was so close," Sakura would think, complaining internally. A collective groan would echo throughout the class. Sakura, for the matter, looked like she'd been punched. Sasuke would have a scowl deepen. But Naruto would simply grin, a glint in his eyes. Well. Looks like the world has a sense of humor after all, sticking me with the brooding orphan and his fangirl. This'll be fun. Sakura would stand. "Fun? You're so insufferable, Naruto. Why do I always have to get stuck with you?" "Because, Sakura, you have the incredible ability to wind up on the team with the strongest member of the academy. You should consider it a gift, really. Being in the right place in the right time and all that." "Don't bother Sakura. He's not worth the effort." Naruto's eyes would narrow at Sasuke's comment. Oh, is that so, Uchiha? Planning on proving your superiority again? Last I checked, your Sharingan couldn't even keep up with my movements. Oh wait, he'd smirk. The rage bait would definitely get to Sasuke. That's right! Unlike me, you haven't unlocked your family's special Kekkei yet. Isn't that right, you little fake Uchiha? Iruka would bang on the front desk. That's enough! All of you! Your Jonin will be arriving here shortly. Please try to act professional for your sensei and not like a band of squabbling children. Naruto would simply chuckle, like he was imitating the laugh of Minato from all those years ago. This was going to be very interesting. He was excited. He wanted to show everyone, especially the two new members of his team, just how far above them he truly was. As time would pass, Naruto would start to get a little annoyed. Where's this sensei of ours? Everyone else has already been picked up. It's getting annoying. Sasuke would laugh. Can't make the time go by faster with your fancy projection style? Shut it, Sasuke. As if on cue, the sound of a door opening could be heard, breaking the attention of all three Genin toward the door. A tall, silver-haired man with a relaxed posture would enter. One of his eyes would be covered by his leaf shinobi headband. This was Kakashi Hatake. My first impression of you guys, huh? You are all a bunch of annoying brats. Well, let's meet up on the roof, okay? Just like that, Kakashi would turn to a puff of smoke, vanishing. Naruto would grin. What a theatrical entrance! I like this guy already. Though, he'll need to pick up his pace if he wants to keep up with me, he'd smirk. Sakura and Sasuke would roll their eyes simultaneously. Now on the rooftop, the three would face their new Jonin sensei, Kakashi Hatake. Alright everyone, introductions. First, tell me your name, your likes, dislikes, your dreams for the future. Oh, and Blondie, you're first. Naruto would cross his arms, an irritated smirk playing across his face. Name's Naruto Zenin, son of Minato Zenin, assuming you've heard of him, Hokage and all. And the grandson of the war hero Naobito Zenin. What I like, huh? I haven't been asked that in a while. Maybe a good challenge? Ooh, I don't mind a spot of ramen every now and then. Oh, and he'd eye Sakura. I like when girls know their place. My dislikes? I hate weaklings. Anyone who questions me, really. And a dream, huh? I guess it wouldn't hurt to become the strongest Hokage who's ever lived, surpassing my old man, and bringing glory to my name. Finishing that line off, he'd sit back confidently. Sakura would look aghast, shocked that this kid had the audacity to speak like this. Sasuke's expression would remain impassive, but his grip would tighten around his knife, his kunai that he had been spinning. Kakashi would simply blink with his one single visible eye. Right. That's interesting. Well then, Pinky, you're next. Sakura would blush, glancing towards Sasuke. Oh, me? Well... Her eyes would bat at Sasuke. She'd giggle. My likes are... my dislikes are Naruto. My dream is... She'd look over at Sasuke, her eyes batting it once again. And my hobbies are... Kakashi would sigh. You like a certain someone. You dislike Naruto. Fair. Your dream is to stare at a certain someone, and your hobbies are... giggling. Got it. Alright, emo kid, it's your turn. Sasuke would turn his eyes darkly. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I have many dislikes, and a few likes. My dream, no. My ambition is to restore my clan. He'd look and eye Naruto over. And to kill a certain man. Naruto would snort, interrupting Sasuke's speech. How edgy. Honestly, Uchiha, you and your little vengeance are gonna get yourself killed. How tiresome, just grow up already. If I had an older brother who'd spare me and killed the rest of the weaklings, I'd even forgive him. Shut it, Zenin. Kakashi would intervene. Alright. What a lovely team dynamic we've got going here. Well, I'm sure this won't lead to any problems tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, we'll have a survival exercise. Make sure to bring your ninja tools and any preparations for combat you might need. Oh, and don't eat any breakfast or you'll definitely be throwing up. And just like before, Kakashi would vanish once again, completely turning into a puff of smoke and vanishing from the trio. Sakura would be the first to break the silence. What was that about not eating breakfast? He's so weird. I guess he's not as bad as Naruto, though. Naruto would stretch, ignoring her comment. Probably just a test to see if we're gullible enough. Or maybe he just doesn't want to see your pretty face covered in vomit, Sakura. That's not even something I'd want to see on a girl as pretty as you. Sakura would try her best not to gag. You are just impossible. And you're predictable, Naruto would say. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some real training to do. Unlike some people, I won't waste my time dreaming about vengeance or chasing after brooding pretty boys. It actually, spoilers, takes work to be strong. Naruto would leap off the rooftops, landing gracefully several stories below, before sprinting away in a flash, leaving Sakura in her frustration and Sasuke silently seething in wrath. That Zenin. He's such a brat, Sasuke would say. The next morning would come quickly, at the designated training ground, near the forest. Naruto would arrive, a confident swagger in his step. Sakura and Sasuke, though, were already there, looking a bit worse for wear, having likely eaten nothing, following Kakashi's instructions. Naruto, however, had enjoyed a hearty breakfast made by his family's chefs, knowing that Kakashi's warning was merely talk. The birds were chirping in the morning air, and a gentle breeze would push Sasuke's hair over his face. As he brushed to the side, Kakashi would appear in front of them, yawning as he held a book out in front of himself, appearing out of nowhere. Oh, good morning, Team 7. Looks like you all made it. Though, Naruto, you look suspiciously well fed. Naruto would grin. Well, Sensei, I believe a sharp mind and a full stomach are essential for peak performance. Unlike some of my less observant teammates. Sakura would glare as her stomach would rumble. Sasuke, though, would merely narrow his eyes. Kakashi would just shake his head. Well, today's exercise is simple. You need to take these 2 bells from me by noon. If the 3 of you can't, you fail. And you go back to the academy. Oh, and did I add that only 2 of you can pass? He'd hold up 2 silver bells, jingling them in his hands. Naruto's eyes would fixate on the silver bells, glamoring in the morning light. This was it. This was his chance to show off. He'd crack his knuckles intimidatingly. Only 2 bells, huh? Well, I guess that means either the fangirl or the emo's going back to school. And my money's on the fangirl. She's useless after all. Hey, what's that supposed to mean, Naruto? That's not true at all, Sakura would say, her eyes filling with rage. Begin, Kakashi would start, and immediately Sasuke and Sakura would vanish into the tree line, hiding for cover just as they'd been instructed to. Naruto, however, would stand his ground. There's no way I'm gonna hide from this guy. I'll be confronting Kakashi head on. You 2 cowards can sit back and watch a real shinobi at work. So, Kakashi-sensei, I heard you were pretty strong. Let's see if that's just a rumor. I'm not one for hide and seek, so come and get me. Or rather, Naruto would scratch his cheek, his whiskers moving along with his fingernail. How about I come and get those bells from you? Kakashi would try his hardest not to laugh. Bold, aren't we? Just like your father. But you know, arrogance can be a dangerous thing, Naruto. In a blur, Kakashi moved. Naruto, however, was even faster. His projection style kicking in, he divided the exact second of Kakashi's movement, anticipating and setting his own trajectory. And just like that, the battle would begin. Whoosh, thwack, whoosh. As Naruto's fists would engage with Kakashi's, they'd have a lightning-fast battle between 2 taijutsu masters. Naruto would dart forward, a fist aimed at Kakashi's midsection, at his green Chunin vest. But Kakashi would block. Naruto would already be following up with a kick set to hit directly into Kakashi. However, Kakashi, who would try to block, would be momentarily caught off guard by the Kikagenkai, freezing him into a frame, a panel of that instance. His body refused to obey him. Naruto would grin, delivering a soft tap to Kakashi's shoulder with his foot. Gotcha. This freezing effect only lasted a second, but it was enough. Naruto had already demonstrated his terrifying power and precision. Kakashi surprisingly even looked a little impressed. Not bad, Naruto, not bad at all. Truly a chip off the old block, as they say, but still predictable. Kakashi would vanish again, this time reappearing behind Naruto with a kunai by his throat. Speed isn't everything. Tactics and teamwork are just as important. Naruto, though caught off guard, would still smile arrogantly. Teamwork, huh? That's for those who can't stand on their own. As for those tactics, I'm just getting started. This is only the beginning, Kakashi. You haven't seen anything yet. The bells, for now, remained with Kakashi, but the challenge had been set. Naruto, while arrogant, was ready to prove himself. A few hours later, it was finally lunchtime. Sasuke and Sakura had begun working the lesson of teamwork together through their own hunger and desperation, but now he almost felt bad. Himself and Sasuke would both be eating their lunches while Sakura was tied to the stump, the only one who hadn't managed to touch a bell, and thus had performed the worst, while the other two enjoyed their meal. This time, Sasuke would be the first one to reach out, giving Sakura, with his own chopsticks, pieces of his own lunch. Sasuke would look annoyed. Why are you feeding that failure? She was the one who performed the worst. Didn't you hear what Kakashi-sensei said? Sasuke would still continue to ignore Naruto. Naruto would grunt. Uchiha, didn't you hear what Kakashi said? If he catches us feeding her, then all three of us will fail. Sasuke's eyes would narrow at Naruto. Then I'd rather fail. I'm not gonna leave her here to starve just because you had breakfast this morning. Sakura would blush. This has been one of the nicest things Sasuke had ever said, or one of the only things he had said to her. Naruto would sigh, scratching the back of his head. Well, I guess we should work together. If he comes back and you're still feeding her, it could cause me problems. Naruto would stand, reaching his own chopsticks out to Sakura. But her face would turn sour. She had enjoyed sharing chopsticks with Sasuke, but this guy? She'd look worriedly at Sasuke. Sasuke would nod, though with some apprehension, and she'd take a bite. At that moment, Kakashi would run out, saying, You! Naruto looked like he was about to pass out. He blew it. You all pass. What? Naruto would fall back. But what about the exam? We didn't pass. Kakashi would chuckle. Well, at least you showed me that you're capable of teamwork. And with that, Team 7 would have officially been formed. Following that would be weeks of D-rank missions, catching cats, pulling weeds, and painting fences. For him, for Naruto, it was an insult. Finally, the breaking point would arrive, and he'd march to his father's office. He'd boldly push both doors open, interrupting the work of those in the office, and yell out in a confident tone, Dad, an old man third, Sarutobi. Enough of this farce! I didn't spend my entire childhood mastering the most complex and powerful technique in the Leaf Village just to find a cat for the 20th time. Minato would sigh, putting his own face in his hands. You know, Naruto, patience is also a virtue of the shinobi. Patience is for the slow. If you're not going to give us a real mission, I might just leave this village and find something worth my time to do. Or maybe I'll go visit grandfather. At least he understands that my talent isn't to be wasted. Hiruzen would chuckle. He has his grandfather's tongue, Minato. I remember those days. Myself, Danzo, and Naobito. Very well. I suppose we can assign a C-rank mission. In fact, we have one perfect for Team 7. You will be escorting a master bridge builder back to his home in the Land of Waves. The sound of footsteps would fill the open air, birds chirping once again as the journey would begin. Naruto confidently walking in front, not to scout, but because he was refusing to walk behind a lowly civilian like Tazuna, this common bridge builder that he was assigned to protect. Tsunade would make a grunting sound as he took a swig from the miscellaneous bottle in his hand. What's with the blonde brat? Looks like he hasn't seen a day of work in his entire life. Naruto, without looking back, would say, "Careful, old man. Your breath smells like cheap booze and failure. You're lucky that our village accepts commissions from such unrefined individuals." "Naruto, you can't speak to him like that. He's our client," Sakura would say, in a hissing and undertone voice. "He's a paycheck, Sakura, and a noisy one at that. Stay in your lane, which, if I recall, is 3 paces back that way, behind the old drunkard." Sasuke would whisper behind both of them, "You talk too much, and you're wide open." "Am I?" Naruto would step in a puddle, though surprisingly the weather had been completely clear that morning. Suddenly 2 chains would whip out from the puddle, wrapping around Kakashi and shredding him instantaneously. Or so it seemed. "Kakashi-sensei!" Sakura would scream in fear. The demon brothers of the mist, Chunin, would pivot out from the puddle toward Naruto and Tsunade. They moved incredibly fast, but to Naruto, it was like they were stuttering. "First frame, you leap. 12, your chain will extend. And 24, you freeze as you die." A sound would split the air like a camera shutter. Naruto wouldn't even weave a single sign. He simply moved. One moment he was standing next to Tsunade, and in the next he was behind the first brother, the assassin frozen midair, his body locked in a rigid, unnatural square as if though a block of ice had turned him into a shard of glass. His only thoughts would be, Why can't I can't move!" Naruto would lean in close during this second, whispering, "You failed. Trash. You didn't follow the movement I chose for you, and now you'll fulfill your role as scum." Naruto would throw a left hook charged with chakra, the heavy punch slamming into the frozen target and shattering the panel. With this casual strike, the frame would shatter, sending the brother sprawling into a tree as his body would land like a marionette whose strings had been cut. Sasuke would intercept the second, but the difference between their combat was clear. Sasuke needed effort to take this guy down, while it seemed second nature for Naruto. Kakashi would reappear, clapping for both of his students as they had taken out 2 Chunin level threats. Very impressive, Naruto and Sasuke. Sakura, good job protecting Tsunade while the other 2 were focusing on combat. That was an excellent display of teamwork, although accidental. Naruto would simply click his tongue. Yeah, whatever. And eventually, they'd come to reach the Land of Waves. The place was choked by fog. They could barely see even 10 feet in front of them, and fear clung to the place. Not that Naruto could feel it. He had been trained to remove this feeling of fear. Even as a thick, murderous chakra began to saturate the air, he merely would adjust his collar. Suddenly, the sound of a massive metal blade would slice through the air. Shh, thwack! Kakashi would yell out, Get down! A giant metal cleaver, the executioner's blade, would slam into the tree that had been right near where their heads had been. And standing atop its handle was Zabuza. Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist. Well, I can't mistake that hair anywhere. It sticks out in the bingo book like a sore thumb. You're Kakashi of the Sharingan. Oh, and what's this? His eyes would sweep down to Naruto. A brat with the Zenin crest. I had heard the 4th Hokage's clan was a bunch of prideful bastards, but sending a child to a slaughterhouse is certainly a bold move. A slaughterhouse? I agree. Though I think you've mistaken who the butcher is, you eyebrowless freak. Naruto, get back! This isn't like the last ones, Sakura would warn. Hey Sakura, do me a favor and find a sturdy tree to hide behind. You should leave this fight to the capable. Zabuza would not lose this opportunity. He'd laugh. Vanishing into the mist. His voice would echo all around them. Hidden mist jutsu. Now, Which one shall I strike down first? Naruto would stick his fingers in his ears. You're so loud. All that chakra through the mist, it's like a strobe light. You're moving too fast for even my frames to keep up with. Naruto began tapping the ground in a constant rhythmic pattern with his feet. Tap, 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 tap. Naruto didn't use the Sharingan. He didn't need to. He would simply project his intent into the mist itself. He'd move his own body into bursts of 1/24th of a second, appearing in 3 different locations at once to the naked eye. What? Are they clones? Is that the body flicker technique? Well, I'll give you that you're fast. Naruto would interject. I'm not just fast, you peasant. I'm consistent. We hear the sound of a collision, clashing metal and a grunt of pain. Naruto would have caught Zabuza's wrist just as he had swung the giant executioner's blade to sever his head from his body. The 24-frame rule would enact. Zabuza would have moved out of turn, his arm locked into a frame. The weight of the massive sword pulling against his frozen muscles would cause a sickening pop. Ah, my arm, you little bastard! Naruto would smirk. You moved out of my order, my rhythm. What a shame. For a demon, you don't seem very strong. Just as Naruto prepared to deliver the finishing blow, a fury of senbon nails would whistle through the fog, striking Zabuza in the neck as a masked figure would appear, an Anbu from the land of the village hidden in the mist. Naruto's eyes would narrow. Someone stealing my kill? It's a very dangerous thing to do to someone as strong as me. Naruto scowled at the Anbu member. Kakashi would hold his arm out as Haku would bow slightly, grabbing Zabuza's corpse and moving away instantly. The immediate danger, and with it the tension, had now passed. Naruto would simply stand in the clearing, his bloodlust unsatisfied. He would turn looking to Sasuke, who was trembling. Not from fear, but from the realization of the sheer gap between the two. Don't look so pathetic, Sasuke. There's still a chance after all for you to awaken that pathetic pink-eye dojutsu of yours. Sasuke could only stand there, stunned. What could he say? Naruto had overpowered an opponent that was on the same level to him as Kakashi. He felt utterly defeated. And luckily, Kakashi this time didn't even have to use his Sharingan, so he was still perfectly ready for combat. The next week, while they continued to guard Tazuna in preparation for the bridge construction, would include Kakashi training the 3 of them. Although Naruto doubted there was anything he could teach him that he hadn't already learned, he would be surprised. Their focus was chakra control, not combat. Sakura and Sasuke would spend every hour for the next couple days trying to walk on trees, while Naruto would have gotten it rather quickly, due to his intense amount of training in order to master his Kikagenkai, which required a good amount of chakra control for application. Instead, he would be practicing on water walking, a bit more complicated version of the tree walking exercise. He had stumbled a bit, but was now just about getting the hang of it after about 3 days. However, due to Naruto's nature as a prodigy, he would unfortunately never meet Haku like he had in canon, never working himself hard enough to pass out unconscious in the forest. And so the two would never have come into contact before the final confrontation. As Team 7 guided Tazuna to today's work, the fog would roll out, and standing like a ghost in the mist would be Zabuza, alive and well, and at his side, the Hunter Anbu ninja from before, Haku. I've recovered, brat, and this time I won't even let you touch me. Haku, take care of the boy. He'd push his sidekick over. Haku would bow, looking to his master, as his lifeless mask eyes would follow Naruto. As Naruto would be ready to accept this challenge, Haku would remove their mask, throwing it to the side. Naruto would whistle. Wow. Haku, is it? You sure have a pretty face for a ninja tool. It's a waste, really. In my clan, someone like you would be, well, useful in other ways. But since you're in my way, I guess I'll have to break you. Haku would speak calmly. I do not wish to kill you, but I will protect Zabuza's dream. The sound of the ice mirrors rising would crackle and shatter in the air. Haku's secret jutsu, his own Kekkei, the crystal demon ice mirrors. Naruto and a frustrated Sasuke who had jumped in would be surrounded by a dome of frozen glass. Similar to the panels that Naruto's jutsu created, he'd be surprised, feeling the icy cold air surrounding them. Haku merging into the reflections and moving at the speed that defied the human eye. Sasuke would grit his teeth. He's too fast. I can't track him. Ugh. Too fast, Sasuke? You really are a disappointment. He's just moving in a straight line between these mirrors. It's so basic. Suddenly, hundreds of senbon needles would come whistling through the air. Sasuke would cry out in pain as the needles found their way into his flesh. But Naruto? Naruto hadn't moved at all. Or rather, he had moved exactly enough. He'd split his movements into 24 frames, tilting his head, twitching his shoulder, moving his back. You're late, Haku. The sound of a sharp thud would occur as Naruto would catch a needle mid-air between two of his fingers. How? Haku would be shocked. You shouldn't be able to see me. I don't need to see you. I've already decided where you're going to be. Naruto would turn as he blitzed towards an ice mirror, throwing a hammer of a punch. The pure momentum from his prescribed punch would cause the mirror to shatter into a fine dust. He'd drag Haku out of the frame he created by his throat. Haku would gasp for air, desperate to get away from Naruto's tightened fingers wrapped around his throat. You might be fast, but you're just so predictable. He'd tighten his fist. Haku's face began to turn a light purple. And that is why you're nothing more but a mere tool. Outside of the ice mirror jutsu, we'd see the battle reaching its climax between Zabuza and Kakashi. Zabuza's body bleeding out onto the bridge, laying there still. He had been betrayed by his employer Gato. But Naruto didn't even care. He'd laugh as Haku would cry out, begging him to allow him to go to his master, as Naruto would snap Haku's neck and toss the boy to Zabuza's side. Kakashi would retrieve his Raikiri from Zabuza's chest, ripping it out with a nasty chunking sound, as blood would spill across the bridge. Even with a broken neck, Haku clung to life. Watching as Gato and the other scumbags who had betrayed Zabuza, who had betrayed him, would laugh seeing their two tools disposed of. Tears would flow from Haku for his now gone master. Naruto would scoff. Pathetic. A shinobi crying. My grandfather would have him executed for such weakness. In a gurgling scream, with the last of his strength, Haku would annihilate the remaining mafia members, including Gato. As snow would fall over the land of waves, the two shinobi would fall into a pool of their own blood. And with that, Team 7 would return to the Leaf Village. But instead of heading to the Hokage's office to report with the rest of his team, Naruto would make a beeline straight for the Zenin district, a walled estate within the village that felt like an entire fortress. The Zenin compound. The Zenin guards would bow, welcoming him back. Welcome, young Master Naruto. But Naruto would ignore them, walking past into the training courtyard, where his younger cousins were sweating through drills. He himself had worked these very same drills since he was a child. He made his way back to the inner sanctum, where sat in luxurious battle attire, sat Naobito Zenin, drinking high-grade sake. His eyes would be half closed. You're back? I heard you played with a mist swordsman. I'm pleased to see you didn't embarrass us. Naruto would smirk, now sitting across from him, uninvited. I broke him, grandfather. And I broke his little pet, too. Though the kid did have a pretty interesting ice release jutsu. Oh, and get this. That Uchiha kid spent the whole time watching my back. Man, he was so pathetic. Good. The Uchiha are a dying spark of embers. We are the future. I guess those Hyuga might be our only competition left, huh? Well, don't get cocky. The Chunin exams are starting, and I hear the Kazekage's brats are coming from the Sand Village. He'd eye his own grandson. I hear the one with the gourd has a temper even nastier than yours. Sand? Let him come. I bet they move way too slowly to even be a threat. Maybe I'll bury the kid in his own gourd. Naobito would smirk, half chuckling, as the Chunin exams would begin. The same meeting with Kakashi and Team 7 would happen, with both Sasuke and Naruto pushing to participate. Sasuke was desperate. He needed to awaken his Sharingan, and he had to get stronger. And Naruto was, well, looking for a challenge from the Kazekage's kid. Who was stronger, him or me? As they get past the older Chunin who had been using a genjutsu to hide the exam room, Naruto would walk through the hall, the crowd parting before him and Sasuke. Move, you're blocking the air. Lee would step out now into the hall. You are Naruto Zenin. I wish to test my hard work against your genius. You are the greatest Genin from your year. Your cousin has told me how strong you are. I wish to test my strength against yours. Naruto would awkwardly look Lee up and down, his eyes lingering on his green spandex. You? Are you sure you're not just here as a mascot, maybe? Tell me, do you even have a technique? Or do you just hit things until your knuckles bleed? Hence the bandages. I have my taijutsu! Oh, your taijutsu, huh? Naruto would say. The air would crack, and with a sudden zip, Naruto would be directly behind Lee, tapping him on the shoulder. I could have ended you 12 times in the last second. Don't waste my time. Lee's eyes would widen. As he'd turn ready to throw a punch at Naruto, Might Guy would fly into the room. Lee! What are you doing, Lee? Don't attack other participants until the exams start. But Guy-sensei, he was mocking our honored battle uniform and my taijutsu. Lee, you don't get it, Lee. Show him your strength with the power of youth. That's the only way, Lee, for you to overcome a true genius. Guy would turn and bow to Naruto deeply. I look forward to seeing you both participate in the exams this year. Please give it everything you've got. Lee would bow too, asking the same. Naruto would simply click his tongue and walk into the exam room, ignoring both of them. Sakura would turn to both of them, apologizing for Naruto, as Sasuke and her would now walk into the room following him. As Naruto kicked the door open, eyes from all across the room would draw to him. Naruto would speak loudly. Listen up, you trash from the lesser villages. My name is Naruto Zenin, and I'm the next head of this village. I'm the reason most of you are going to fail, and if you can't catch up to me, don't even bother taking the test. You might as well save me the stepping stone to my glory. Sasuke would facepalm and mutter under his breath. You're going to get us all killed before the test even starts, moron. Naruto would grin. Only if they're fast enough to catch me, Sasuke. And we both know they aren't. Naruto would take his seat, leaning back and slamming his feet on the desk, a grin covering his face as Ibiki would walk in, the Chunin exams finally starting as the first test would begin. Naruto would be sat next to the princess of the Hyuga clan. How lucky, he'd think. She was at least cute. He'd remember, though, to an uncomfortable memory from when he was much younger. When he was maybe 3 or 4 and the villagers still harassed him for the Ninetales attack. He remembered a very snowy night, one where he had been unaccompanied by guards. We'd see a flash of a Naruto as a child being all beat up as 3 older boys walk away while Hinata shook him, asking him if he was okay. Naruto would turn the thought away. I was so weak. Naruto? Hinata would say. He was staring at her. Huh? Oh, it's nothing, Hinata. I was just admiring you. She'd blush lightly. Oh, nothing. Naruto, who had gone through vigorous training inside his clan and had the best education since birth, would easily pass the Chunin exam test. He didn't even need to cheat, though he could. He thought about 12 different ways he could use projection style to easily move faster than any of the proctors could think, check their exams, and get the answers right, but he didn't need to. It was simply that mundane. Finally, it was time for the Forest of Death. Naruto had gotten a good look at that red-haired kid. Since this Naruto wasn't particularly close with Konohamaru, he hadn't actually run into the Sand Trio before the exam. He was now keeping his eye on him the entire time the exam was being explained for the second half, including the part about the scrolls. Yeah, get on with it, Naruto would say, completely ignoring Anko. "What was that, you shitty brat?" Anko would say. She'd seemingly teleport for everyone else, but Naruto was prepared. As she grabbed his wrist, he grit his teeth. "A weak woman like you shouldn't touch me. Then maybe try to listen a bit more carefully to my instructions." She'd roughly let go of his arm as Naruto would caress his wrist. "Bitch." The exam would begin, and everything continues pretty normally, all the way until we finally encounter Orochimaru. A gust of wind would cause the trees to groan in the massive forest, and a snapping sound. Suddenly, the atmosphere would shift. The air became thick, not with mist, but with a paralyzing intent to kill. And a giant snake the size of a house would burst from the undergrowth, ripping through the tree line, and atop its head stood a figure with pale skin and eyes that belonged to a reptile. His voice was like sandpaper on silk.
My, what a delicious collection of genes we have here. An Uchiha.
His eyes would glaze over Sasuke.
Ooh, and a Zenin, who carries the 4th Hokage's bloodline. That must mean you're an Uzumaki as well. Such high chakra reserves your kind have.
Naruto's fists would tighten. "For the record, I'm a pure Zenin. And you've got a lot of nerve, Snake. Blocking the path of me is a capital offense, you know. Even though you're all the way over there, your breath's worse than the bridge builders." Sakura's knees would be shaking, her lungs gasping for air.
Naruto, we need to run. This guy's a monster."
Sasuke would be frozen, a kunai trembling in his hand. I can't move." Naruto would glance back, his voice dripping with disdain. "Pathetic, both of you. If you can't move in this, my grandfather would have slaughtered you. You're just clutter. How about you both stand and watch a master at work?" Naruto's feet would hit the ground. Tap, tap, tap. He didn't wait or weave signs. His engaged mind now focused purely on combat. Cutting the moment into 24 sections. The snake lunges. Frame 12, your tongue flickers out. And 24, you're already out of my sink. The sound of a sharp crack would rip through the air as his body would be displaced. He vanished. He didn't flicker. He simply took a new coordinate through space as he appeared at the bridge of the ginormous snake's nose, his palm resting flat against the scales.
"Oh, projection sorcery. You've inherited Naobito speed. I see."
"I didn't just inherit it. This is perfection." The entire massive snake's body would make a loud, heavy metallic thud as its entire body would turn rigid like a statue. The massive summon, though, would use a ton of chakra. Naruto would even feel it a bit, even though he was half Uzumaki. Caught midway through a powerful lunge, the snake would turn from 2D back into a 3D world, moved out from its instance of frozen time. Orochimaru would leap into the air, his summon having been neutralized.
"Fascinating. To freeze a creature of this size, your chakra reserves are truly monstrous. Or is it merely the Nine Tails?"
Naruto's ears would burn, his face turning red. "Shut it!" Naruto's fists would make the sounds of a Gatling gun. Bam, 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 as he unleashed a flurry of strikes. Each hit was like a rocket. Every time Orochimaru tried to block, his fist would be a fraction faster, forcing Orochimaru to lag behind in the fight. He'd grunt, his neck extending like a whip to avoid a blow to his head.
"You're fast, but you're arrogant."
His hand would turn into a swarm of snakes. Naruto's prediction for his own body would be stopped as one of the snakes grips onto his leg. Naruto would be frozen in time by his own technique as Naruto's snakes would wrap around Naruto, squeezing and throwing him to a tree. Naruto would cough out blood, being caught off guard by this unorthodox attack. Naruto would move again like a blur, dicing the snakes with his hands filled with kunai as the snakes would be turned into a bloody mist. He'd land gracefully onto another tree branch, looking down at Orochimaru. "My grandfather told me about you. You must be a traitor to the Leaf Village if you're this strong. And using snakes." With a summoning contract, you must be one of the Sannin. Orochimaru, you're the failure who couldn't beat my old man to become the Hokage. Isn't that right? Honestly, the legends written about you must have been written by people who are a little slow. You're so sluggish and predictable, though I guess right now you are taking the shape of a woman. Orochimaru would cackle.
And there it is! The overconfident brashness of a brute of the Zenin. The same that's led this village to ruin. Well, I was going to take the Uchiha's body, but your Kekigenkai might prove useful. Why not?
His neck would extend with an impossible speed, his fangs bearing for Naruto's throat, to embed him with the curse mark. Naruto's eyes would turn cold as ice.
Don't touch me with your filthy teeth.
The air would crack as the sound of a sonic boom, as Naruto would move in a straight line. He didn't dodge, he moved through the attack, striking Orochimaru square in the chest with a palm thrust, as he activated Wind Gale Palm. The impact was so precise it would send a shockwave through the Sannin's internal organs. But he had missed. Orochimaru's body would turn into hundreds of black tendrils, snakes that would carpet the forest floor, lunging towards him and Sasuke. His eyes would dart, Naruto trying to find a focal point to activate his technique, but there were just too many of them. Damn it! There's no rhythm to his movement! The sound of the snakes hissing would throw Naruto off, as a pale hand would erupt from the earth beneath Naruto's feet, grabbing his ankle with the strength of a vice grip. What? Orochimaru would whisper from the shadows.
You're so focused on the next second that you've ignored the present. This is what I call a lack of combat experience.
Naruto would yelp out in pain, as Orochimaru would shatter his leg and throw him into a massive tree, the wood splintering and tearing the Zenin crest on his back. The impact was massive. Naruto had been slammed so hard his solar plexus was now impacted. He could barely breathe as a ragged gasp would escape him. For the first time, he'd felt a bone snap. Him. He felt like a dying lamp as he tried to escape. Naruto's vision would swim before him. He was barely clinging to consciousness in front of the Sannin. Blood would trickle from his mouth. Orochimaru would bite down on him as Naruto would feel the curse mark's chakra implanted on his neck. Naruto would slump over as Orochimaru would turn his eyes to his next prey, the Uchiha brat. Sasuke would not fare much better, although seeing Naruto getting taken down by Orochimaru had lit a fire in him, and he was fighting with everything he had. This was his chance to prove himself. This burning passion, seeing his teammate getting taken down, someone as strong and confident as Naruto, had lit something inside him. It even had helped him awaken the One Tomoe Sharingan. Finally! As Sasuke was pinned down by Orochimaru after an impressive display of wires and kunai, Sakura would scream out saying, "No, no, Sasuke!" But it was too late. Sasuke would be bitten with the curse mark. As he'd feel the chakra flowing through him, he too would fall unconscious. But as if almost on cue, a low guttural growl would vibrate across the tree. Deep within Naruto's dark unconsciousness, something answered. Something furious. It wasn't the refined chakra that he had honed over years. It was hot, bubbling, and powerful. This hatred was not his own. His voice would rumble. "Get your hands off me!" He'd rip out of the jutsu Orochimaru had cast, binding him to the tree. Boom! Red chakra would spill all over his body, clearly visible as the one-tailed cloak would overwhelm him. A pillar of crimson light bursting from his abdomen. He'd shred snakes, blasting Orochimaru back, as the curse mark on his neck would burn away. Naruto's eyes, which had been a piercing blue, bled into slit-pupilled and turned red, his whisker marks thickening and becoming jagged black scars. Orochimaru's eyes would widen.
There it is. There's the nine-tailed fox.
This was raw, pure violence. Naruto was using pure power, would move not with the grace of a master who had perfected his skill over years, but blurring like an animal on the hunt, ready to pounce and chase its prey. With the sound of a heavy smash, Naruto would appear in front of Orochimaru, his hand covered in chakra and his fingernails extending into claws. He'd shove the Sanin's face full of dirt and his sharp nails, causing a crater. As blood would spurt from Orochimaru's face, the red chakra would protect him from any recoil. The bubbling cloak of the One Tails now turning into Two Tails, as Naruto's voice would distort. "You wanted to see it, right? My power! This is what I am. Why all of you hate me. Fine, I'll give it to you. I'll destroy everything." Orochimaru realized the time for games was over, as he used a 6-trigram seal, casting as he slammed his fingers into Naruto's belly, causing the Nine-Tails chakra to dissipate, and sending Naruto flying off the tree to the forest floor below, completely unconscious. As Sakura would run over carrying Sasuke, she'd look worried for once. "Did you see that?" He'd cough up a little blood. "I even made a Sanin run from me." He collapsed. The toll on his body was too great. The perfect Zenin heir now lay in dirt, covered in burns, from the very power he had spent his entire life rejecting. The fact that he was the son of the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, that the night she had died he had had it transferred to him, and the truth of it all, it was a secret among their clan, that in order to weaken the Uchiha's power in the village, Minato had released the Nine-Tails on Kushina. With their ability to control the tailed beasts with their Sharingan, they had used it to destroy the village and push the Uchiha out of being the greatest clan in the village, making the Zenin the most powerful. That was how Minato had become the 4th Hokage. It had actually been a debate between him and Fugaku Uchiha, but as a ploy, when his wife's pregnancy had led to the Nine-Tails seal being weakened, he would have taken advantage of her and used the Nine-Tails to wreak havoc, causing Fugaku to be suspect of causing the disaster, in a plan to overthrow the Leaf Village. Before he blacked out, Naruto would remember the conversation between his father and grandfather that he had heard when he was 4 years old, the night he had received that fox mask. The two had been talking about this very secret, behind closed doors, and Naruto had never spoken a word of it to anyone. Not the fact that he was actually the Nine-Tails host, not the fact that his mother had been killed by his own father's hands, or the fact that the Uchiha had been framed, and that Itachi Uchiha had been acting on Minato's orders to wipe out the Uchiha clan. All these thoughts would race in Naruto's mind as he'd finally fall unconscious. Sakura with all of her might would drag both the boys with her toward the center tower. They somehow still had both scrolls they had earned, but that was all they had. The entire team was almost wiped out. While Naruto was unconscious and she had almost been taken out, Lee would have saved her, and eventually, Sasuke would have even woken up, but he had been covered in black markings, and his chakra was eerie, just like that snake guy from earlier, the Sanin Naruto had called him. Sasuke had protected them though, before he too had fallen back unconscious. Now, finally, she would have gotten her team to the center tower, both of them laying on 2 bedrolls on the stone floor, Sakura desperately praying that both of them would wake up before the next phase of the exam. Where is that bastard? Where's the snake? Naruto would wake up, his voice raspy. Naruto, don't move. You drove him off, but Sasuke. She'd turn looking over at Sasuke. Naruto would turn his eyes, narrowing them as he saw the Uchiha unconscious, and the mark now on his neck. Naruto would turn looking to his own neck, seeing the raw, boiled skin. He accepted it. How pathetic. Sasuke had allowed that filth into his own blood because he was too weak to protect himself. A Zenin should choose to die than to be a vessel for another's power. Naruto's hand moved to touch the raw skin on his neck that had been burned by the Nine-Tails chakra. The fox had purged the mark, but the hypocrisy of the statement he had said tasted like ash. I'm no better than Sasuke. I'm already a vessel for a piece of trash. The balcony would be crowded with the other teams who had passed, as the preliminary rounds would begin. Naruto had already passed his round against Kiba, who had complained at the pairing, saying this was totally unfair. Naruto had blitzed him and Akamaru in a single bout, even though he still felt kind of drained from earlier. Sasuke had help from Kakashi and was able to even reseal that curse mark, taking out his opponent who was from the Sound Village. Finally, it was time for Lee versus Gaara of the Sand. Naruto would watch. He'd mutter to himself seeing the fight beginning. Look at this guy. No clan or special bloodline, just effort and some weird eyebrows. They're awfully bushy, aren't they? Sakura would bite her tongue. She really wanted to say something to defend Lee since he had actually been the one to save their team, but she was worried Naruto would make fun of her if she said that. A few moments later, after the battle had begun, and things had gotten serious, Naruto's eyes would widen, seeing Lee dropping his leg weights. A massive kaboom shaking the entire arena. Naruto's eyes would now really widen. He's moving so fast. Purely through his muscles. It's so crude, but it's almost respectable. How much work and training to just mimic a fraction of my birthright, of my speed. What a tragic waste. However, before Naruto's worldview could be completely shattered, Gaara would successfully take out Lee's leg, taking the man of hard work down for good, and having to be saved by a group of Jonin, one of them actually also being a Zenin who had been proctoring the match. With his speed, they would have successfully blocked Gaara from actually taking out Lee permanently. Naruto would breathe a sigh of relief before correcting himself. No, he's still a commoner. But hey, that fight was actually impressive. It got my heart racing there for a second. Then it was time for the next big match. The battle between Hyugas. It was time for Hinata versus Neji. As the Hyuga genius, Neji began to systematically dismantle her. Naruto's composure would begin to fracture. Every time Neji opened his mouth, he'd speak about fate and the burden of being the branch house. A memory, soft, would pierce Naruto's arrogant facade, the facade that had agreed with Neji for everything he had said. We'd see a flashback, the soft crunch of snow under boots and the cruel laughter of 3 older boys. He remembered. He remembered back when he was 4.5, long before he had understood the full weight of what it meant to be him, to be the heir to the Hokage. He had seen a girl with lavender eyes and beautiful hair. He had always thought she was rather pretty, and he didn't know who she was. But she had been cornered. He didn't think about status or even care. His gut instinct was to charge in with the red scarf that he had wrapped around his neck, flying around him as the child Naruto screamed to leave her alone, before getting his face bruised up by the 3 bigger boys. Back to the present, Naruto would be gripping the railing, his knuckles white. Neji's right. The weak deserve to be trampled. The branch serves the head. It's the way of my clan too. So why do I feel such hatred for that little bastard? Naruto's eyes would turn cold as ice, as he couldn't bear to watch any more. Hinata barely stood, stumbling, but not giving up. Why wouldn't she just give up? As blood trickled from her lips, Naruto would pop as the air around him would crackle. He would catch Neji's fingers. That's enough, Neji. Are you really gonna fight that seriously against a weakling? Hinata would fall to the ground, spitting out blood as Naruto would have ended the fight. The Jonin would have also arrived, but Naruto had moved even faster than them. Hinata would whisper, Naruto, before passing unconscious. Naruto would throw Neji's hand away, pointing a finger at him and saying that if he wants to fight someone strong, then he should look forward to their match in the tournament. I'll show your Hyuga clan its place beneath my boot. Neji's eyes would narrow. Fate doesn't change a thing. We'll see whose is stronger, your genius or mine. For what it's worth, Naruto, I heard that you almost died in the Forest of Death. I had no trouble at all. I suppose we'll find out whose fate is sealed in stone. Yours or mine. Neji would storm off, irritated that this hypocrite had interrupted him. He was interrupting Hyuga clan business. Surely this brat should know better. Naruto didn't feel ashamed though. Instead, he felt conflicted. He had stepped in for Hinata. His chest ached. Yeah, whatever. He turned his back away on Hinata as he headed back to the stands. And with that, the end of the Chunin exams preliminaries would take place, with Naruto versus Neji being announced for the final tournament happening in 2 months' time. After the preliminary Chunin exams, Naruto would return back to the Zenin compound. But the Forest of Death had left its scars on him. But the Zenin compound was already buzzing. Naruto had returned, but he wasn't the same. He walked through the gates with a bandage tied across his neck. Though not of the curse mark, but of the burn marks of the fox's fire, of its burning chakra, a scar to his own failure. Naobito slammed a cup down the wooden table. You used that beast's power because you couldn't hold your own. What a pathetic showing. Naobito was furious. He stood in the hall, Naruto's eyes cold. I survived, grandfather. I made a Sannin flee from me. Can you tell me of any other 12-year-old in this clan who could say the same? Naobito spat. You survived because of a parasite! The Zenin should rely on their own power. If you cannot dominate the world with your power alone, you're no better than the common trash outside our walls. Naruto would smirk, his voice trembling now. Then I'll just have to make my technique stronger, won't I? I'll incorporate the fox's speed into my jutsu. I'll turn a second into an eternity. Naruto turned on his heel. His robe swirled. His arrogance had backfired on him. But at the same time, the power of the Nine Tails had been incredible. He was disgusted with himself, but he had never felt more alive than that fight. As Naruto left the compound, he would see a man sneaking into the women's bathhouses down in the main street of Konoha. He'd have long white hair and red markings on his face. Naruto's eyes would widen. This was Jiraiya. Just as the Hyuga clan had their branch family, so too did the Zenin. And in this case, Jiraiya, one of the Sannin just like Orochimaru, happened to have been related to the Zenin clan itself, though Jiraiya had been cast out, although Naruto did not know why. He looked at Jiraiya's hands. The man was peeping through a wooden hole. On his finger, Naruto saw a very familiar forebearer sigil, the sigil of the Zenin clan. Yep, no doubt about it. This was the Sannin, the Toad Sage Jiraiya. Naruto would bark. A Zenin? Here? You look like a disgraced drunk. Jiraiya would turn with a grin, not even a hint of shame. Disgraced? Maybe. But drunk is a matter of perspective, kid. You must be Minato's brat, the one who thinks he's a god because he can count to 24. Naruto would snarl. You're a branch member. I can smell your lack of talent. You don't even have our technique. You're a failure. Sharp tongue. Just like Naobito. Tell you what, if you can land one, just one hit on me, this failure, I'll buy you some ramen. If not, you should shut up and listen for 5 minutes. I'll have you begging for mercy. This was it, Naruto thought. My chance. I couldn't beat Orochimaru because he was a genius, but Jiraiya! The sound of a heavy thud as Naruto's face would slam into the dirt. How? I hit you with my technique, you should have been frozen! Jiraiya would tower over him, his playful look gone. You're always so busy watching time that you've forgotten to watch me. I may not have the clan's gift, but I'm plenty strong in my own right, kid. Naruto stared up, shocked. He had been taught that the Kekkei Genkai, their projection style, was everything. But this again broke everything he had thought about. This man was faster than he was, purely with his own physical strength and speed. His prowess was unmatched. Jiraiya would laugh. Tell you what, if you want to try and get stronger, I'll help you, but I won't train with that technique of yours. Seems like you've got it down pat already. Instead, he'd summon Gamabunta. What is that? Naruto would be shocked. If you can stand on this guy's head for 24 hours, I'll make you my student. Naruto would be aghast. His student? Our clan's outcast? But, well, he was a famous Sannin after all. And so, a month would pass. As Naruto and Jiraiya re-enter the village, Naruto would turn to Jiraiya and bow. This was a huge honor in his mind. Considering that Jiraiya had been considered an outcast and a failure, Naruto had gained some respect for him. Jiraiya would be surprised. He'd wonder if maybe this kid would be different. Maybe the Zenin weren't going to be as horrible as they'd always been, and things could change for the better. Naruto would make his way to the arena, where down below it was finally his turn. The arena was in an uproar. There was an entire section of the arena filled with the Zenin clan, and at the top of it, Naobito. Minato would be sat in the announcer's box alongside the Kaze Kage. The Zenin clan would cheer in an egregious roar as Naruto entered into the stands. As Neji did the same, the Hyuga would also respond, both major families cheering their own representative on. This fight was more than just an exam. For them, it was a battle of honor between their two clans. Heck, even Hiyashi was supporting Neji here, just to get one over on the Zenin clan who had always belittled them. And the announcer would count down as the exam would begin. Naruto versus Neji. Naruto's eyes were filled with determination as he faced down Neji Hyuga. Struggle all you want, Zenin, but my Byakugan can see the flow of all of your movements. No matter where you run off to, I have a 360-degree perception of vision. Naruto would smile. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm counting on, actually. Neji would lunge forward, trying to get the move ahead of Naruto before he can activate his technique of projection style. His palms were a blur of gentle fists, but Naruto wouldn't go to use projection sorcery. Instead, before Neji can reach him, he'd bite his thumb and slam it into the ground, using the Toad summoning jutsu. But he wasn't summoning Gamabunta. No, instead Naruto summoned 24 individual frogs. These were smaller, much younger ones, and he kept them an equidistant distance from Neji. With this, it was time for his warm-up. Naruto would jump into the air, loosening all his limbs as he throws his arms back and forth. Just like that, a crack would rip through the air as Neji prepared, spinning into his circle defense, hoping to catch Naruto in it. But Naruto wasn't attacking Neji. No. The crowd would watch in amazement as Naruto leaped between all 24 frogs so quickly. As each frog was touched by Naruto, they would leap upward, making a gekko sound as soon as he touched them, throwing him up into the air where he'd teleport again back down. Naruto was charging his momentum, building up his speed faster and faster. So, you see, a little known fact about projection sorcery is its ability to change its base speed from its first 24 seconds, which means that the faster and longer you've been using the technique, the more speed you compound. Naruto would be building up speed using the Toads to reach a point of speed faster than Neji can react, to where Naruto could reach into the rotational defense easily. The rotational ball of chakra Neji was wielding would falter as Naruto would appear, his fist in Neji's side, Neji's hands and legs having missed Naruto completely. See, Neji? As long as you're moving slower than me, it's like you're spinning in slow motion. Just a target. Neji would cough blood as he gets sent sprawling across the arena into a large thump of smoke and dust. The Hyuga would cheer out in outrage, while the Zenin would roar in glory. Naruto wouldn't go after Neji here, letting him recover, as Hinata watches she clutch her wrists, thinking, Naruto, Neji. Neji would wipe his face. Oh, I was certain you were the type to kick me while I was down. I guess you have some respect after all. Naruto would smile. I need to give our families a good show. It wouldn't do well for you to get taken out in the first blow. Neji would grit his teeth. Naruto was making him a show for the clans. He was making sport of him. Naruto would step forward as Neji would be within range. He'd activate his 8 trigrams, 64 palms, trying to strike Naruto. Naruto would easily dodge every strike. Too slow. You're just too damn slow. When Neji finally ran out of steam, Naruto would smile. My turn. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Naruto would copy what Neji had done, following his own movements and using projection sorcery to mimic his speed. Of course, without the Byakugan, it wasn't like he was actually deactivating Neji's chakra points. Really, it was just to show him that anything you can do, I can do. As Naruto whipped his fist fast like a tornado, Neji's body would get ricocheted around, as he finally would get kicked spinning into a stone wall and causing a crater within it, where he'd fall to the ground completely knocked out. There would be outcries of rage and glory as the Zenin would roar out in their victory. The announcer would announce Naruto Zenin as the winner. The Hyuga who had been known to be untouchable in his year had just been outpaced by the next year's strongest. After that came the fight between Sasuke and Gaara, and it seemed Kakashi didn't pull any punches when training Sasuke this time. Sasuke's Chidori was mastered to the point that he had in the original timeline, and his Sharingan shone with 3 Tomoe. He would shred through Gaara's sand defense like paper, cutting and causing him pain. And, just as the story goes, the One-Tails would rage inside him. Though our Naruto would not beg for Sasuke's match to end. He was too busy being disgusted by this power Gaara was using. How unsightly. Naruto felt the chakra radiating into his skin. It reminded him of his own dance of death, where he had almost been taken by Orochimaru, if it wasn't for that fox's power. Gaara would rage as the pain burned him. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts! And just like that, he'd enter into the pseudo one-tailed state, bursting out of the arena and heading off into the forest. Sasuke would give chase. As all hell broke loose, a genjutsu would be cast over the arena, causing even the average shinobi to fall asleep. The great clans, such as the Hyuga and the Zenin, were completely impervious to such jutsu. And the war would begin, as Orochimaru would reveal himself as the Kazekage, attacking Minato. As the 4th Hokage would battle the fake Kazekage, Naruto would give chase after Sasuke and Gaara, along with a few other shinobi from their year. As Naruto gave chase, he'd eventually catch up, seeing Sasuke running out of energy and his Sharingan flickering back to black. He'd be impressed. Sasuke was able to keep up with this guy, huh? Maybe he's not as weak as I thought after all. But Naruto's tongue would soon be caught by its own words. As the fight would switch between Sasuke and Gaara to Gaara and Naruto, Naruto would quickly realize that this wasn't going to be easy. Gaara's sand was not treated as a part of his body by projection sorcery. It was a separate entity in its entirety. It took way more processing power for Naruto to fight this guy. He couldn't freeze the sand by calculating its trajectory. It was far too small for him to count every single grain. And Gaara, if he fought smartly, had more range than him. And Naruto can't freeze Gaara unless he has physical contact with him. He had to close this distance, but all the sand bullets and long-range attacks were preventing Naruto from reaching him. Even when he had and finally touched his sand arm, just as how Zabuza's sword had been treated as a separate part than his body, so too did the sand be treated separately from Gaara. Naruto would get a nasty gash across his chest as blood would flow through his robes. He'd get sent sprawling back down to the forest floor. Naruto would wipe his face, picking himself back up as he was ready to jump back into the fray. Meanwhile, back at the village, Minato was now trapped in the 4-way barrier jutsu, the same jutsu that the Sound 4 had originally used to trap Hiruzen. Orochimaru in this case, though, was targeting the current Hokage, not the 3rd. With his mastery over projection style, Minato would easily be outpacing Orochimaru. That is, until he'd use the reanimation jutsu, summoning the 2nd and the 1st Hokage, members of the strongest clan in Konoha's history, the Senju. Oh, you think adding more numbers will mean you can beat me, Orochimaru? Minato would smirk confidently. He'd hold his hand out as blue energy would begin to spiral around it. The deep blue energy would rock the air. Spiraling in his hand, Minato would confidently grin. Come on, Lord First. Let's see whose is stronger. Your pathetic sage jutsu, wood style, or my Rasengan. In a battle of pure speed, Minato had the advantage. With projection-style sorcery and now the Rasengan, he was able to gain a tremendous amount of momentum, the Rasengan getting even charged by this momentum and making it more powerful. He'd rip through the wood-style jutsu and water dragons of the first and second Hokage, reaching Orochimaru and blasting him in the chest with the Rasengan. Orochimaru would bellow in pain, trying to have transferred to a snake but getting hit mid-transformation. His body would freeze into a panel from projection style, and then be bashed again by the Rasengan, shattering him into pieces. He gets sent sprawling as the two Kage would lurch to his side, marionettes to attack the fourth. Minato would grin even more confidently. "Yeah, that's it. Now you're really getting my blood boiling." Orochimaru would wheeze. "I didn't think fighting the Black Flash would be so difficult. I see why they named you that, as an aura of death." Minato would swoosh back his blonde hair, golden in the light. "Yeah, well, that's the reason that so many of them fear me. But she never did." Minato would look down at the Rasengan forming in his hand. "That's why I made this, I was terrified of that Nine-Tails power." He'd think back. He'd remember when his clan had put out a hit on Kushina Uzumaki. His father, Naobito, had been the one to do it. She was originally meant to be taken to the Cloud Village and then executed, putting more stress on the war and bringing the Leaf Village further into the conflict, while also removing a threat for the Hokage position. He had been born to be the Hokage. That was Minato's destiny. But things didn't go according to plan. Minato had followed the assailants and, eventually, after she had gotten pissed off enough, Kushina had ripped them a new one, her hair spiraling into tails as red chakra covered her, and she had destroyed all of them. Minato had a bright idea at the end though. He'd smirked to himself. He remembered how he made himself look like a hero, coming out of nowhere, beating down the last assailant, and asking her if she was alright. That meathead didn't even suspect a thing. And after all those years, I was finally able to create an imitation of the Tailed Beast power, the ultimate destructive jutsu of the Tailed Beast bomb. My Rasengan. Orochimaru laughed. Yes, and an impressive A-rank jutsu it is. But you never could complete it, could you? I heard from Jiraiya. That old man's telling you stories then, huh? Yes, Minato. He told me how you came to him begging to learn Sage Jutsu, how in exchange you offered him the secrets of the Rasengan, and how he learned of its imperfections. That jutsu's only so effective because you're wielding it. I personally would never be interested in such a wasteful jutsu. So much chakra for so little results. Oh yeah? Then how about you come here and I'll give it to you? And the fight would commence once more. Back to Naruto. He was completely out of chakra. Man, Gaara, you are something else. As Naruto's battle spirit would begin to inflame, Sasuke would watch in horror as he would see the red chakra of the Nine-Tails now leaking out once again. Naruto in this timeline would not go to summon Gamabunta. Why would he? This was a test between two men, two shinobi with power. He wanted to win no matter the cost. As Naruto felt that burning power of the fox, he'd push more hatred, more feelings into it, and he'd feel two tails extend behind him, successfully generating a two tails Nine-Tails cloak. With this, he was able to split 1 second even further, doubling the power of his projection sorcery into 1/48 of a second, doubling his speed. He would punch Gaara going Mach 3, as the boy would cry out in pain, trying to wrap sand around Naruto. He was simply too fast. Before the sand could get a grip on him, he was gone, far exceeding the speed of Lee with his gates. As Naruto would rip a claw across Gaara's back, he'd fall unconscious, as the sand would grow around him, transforming Gaara into the full form of the one-tailed tanuki. As if to respond to this, Naruto's body would begin to enter into the three-tail state, as Naruto would feel his skin ready to burst at the seams. He'd cry out in pain as Sasuke would tell Naruto to stop it, to cut it out. But Naruto was losing control. As he'd grow into the four-tailed state, it was clear he didn't have real mastery over this power. And this is where the history comes into play. Unlike in the original Naruto, this Naruto merely had an 8 trigram seal. He did not possess the Reaper Death Seal, as Minato was clearly still alive. Thus, this dual-layered seal jutsu was only 1. The Nine-Tails' power was much more sloppily transferred to Naruto, their chakra not as integrated as the original, causing Naruto to lose control much faster. Since this Naruto has the entire Nine-Tails stored inside of him, the Nine-Tails also possesses much more chakra, which explains why Naruto is able to enter the four-tailed state at this point in his life. As he enters Four Tails, the two-tailed beasts would clash, a giant wave of light overcoming the area as Sasuke would get blown back. Sakura would arrive along with Shikamaru, who would take Sasuke and try and get him out of there. As Naruto's jaw would unhinge, he'd begin casting the tailed beast bomb. In a roar of frustration, the One-Tails would shout out to Kurama, screaming the Nine-Tails' name, as Naruto would blast it with a tailed beast bomb, eradicating everything and blowing off one of Gaara's legs. Gaara would yell out in pain, horrified at the monster in front of him. This was something far beyond what he had been called. This was a real demon. As Naruto was about to kill Gaara, suddenly he'd be frozen in space. This is why I said it's pathetic to rely on that power. I always told Minato we should have killed the beast and been done with it. Naruto's grandfather, Naobito, would arrive, having followed the trio out of the village, seeing his grandson chasing down the one-tailed Jinchuriki. Making my grandson a Jinchuriki. This is why I can't get along with that son of mine. Naobito would punch the frozen Naruto in the tailed beast state, sending it flying back into a tree and ripping several of them down. The Nine-Tails would seemingly blitz back into space, but with its simplistic animal-like movements, Naobito was far faster, stronger, and more capable. With its next dash, the Nine-Tails overwhelmed Naruto would get grabbed by the throat, the chakra burning his grandfather's hand, as Naobito would cover his fingers in chakra using a sealing jutsu on top of Minato's 8 trigram seal, now once again sealing the chakra of the Nine-Tails. He'd pull his hand back, feeling the flesh burning, as he'd watch as Naruto would fall to the ground, his skin covered in bruises and blood. The Nine-Tails chakra slowly healing him from his own self-caused injuries. Too much effort for an old man. He'd sit back, pulling out his sake and taking a drink. Gaara would ask why. Why had he saved him? As Naobito would laugh. Ha! Save you? No. I came to save this brat. Unconsciously pointing the bottle towards Naruto, who was slumped on the ground. Anyway, he grabbed Naruto, tossing him over his shoulder. He's got some use for me still, and he's not half bad either if he puts his mind to things. At least he tries, unlike that son of mine. I'll choose to think that he still has a chance, even if it is unsightly. With that, he'd walk away, leaving Gaara and his bleeding leg, with Gaara being helped and saved by his siblings later on. Meanwhile, tragedy had struck the Leaf Village. Naobito would hear bustling as everyone would be screaming out, saying that something happened to Lord Hokage. As they got closer, Naobito's eyes would narrow. The village would mourn, seeing Lord Fourth carrying the third Hokage, who had sacrificed his life breaking through the seal barrier to take down his one grave mistake. He had used the Reaper Death Seal to try and take out Orochimaru permanently, and in the process, had taken his own life. Minato would stand, a sad look on his face, but internally, what an idiot! I had Kushina teach me the Reaper Death Seal, and naturally, of course, I taught to Lord Third when he asked. I never thought someone was actually supposed to use such a jutsu. There's no way I would use such a technique, and especially not after I saw Kushina summon that thing to seal the Nine-Tails in my son. Speaking of which, Minato would look up, seeing his father carrying his son. Hey, old man, what happened to the kid? Oh, you know, just a bit of roughhousing. Naruto would laugh, stroking his beard, as Naruto would begin to stir. What happened? That bastard. Oh, finally up and about, are we, huh? Well, I guess you can walk on your own legs then. Naobito would put Naruto down. Naruto would turn, seeing his father and Lord Third. The third Hokage had been a close friend of their family, and now he was gone. The village would hold a mourning ceremony for the third Hokage, celebrating his last ounce of life to seal Orochimaru's arms, defanging a great threat to the village in his last moments. What Minato himself, though, didn't expect was how Orochimaru escaped. How had he learned that forbidden jutsu? You see, after Minato had become the Kage, he had outlawed and banned all mention of the flying Raijin jutsu, the only known jutsu that had been created by Lord Second to counter the Zenin clan and their own incredible speed. The ceiling-type jutsu manipulated space-time just like their Kekkei. However, it did require more chakra to use, and skill. So naturally, Minato was shocked that Orochimaru was able to use the Sound 4 and himself to cast the flying Raijin jutsu with their aid, and actually escape him. That was why he had tried so hard to eradicate that jutsu from existence. What a pain. Minato was terrified that someone could learn how to use that power effectively, someone just like Lord Second, Tobirama. In fact, that was the biggest concern and the reason why he fought so cautiously against the reanimations. Knowing this, Minato would try with all of his might to push the village to find and take down Orochimaru, and all under the guise of him avenging the third Hokage. Additionally, Minato would justify the attack as a reason to implicate the Sand Village, forcing the Sand Village under his power, and causing strife between the Land of Wind and the Land of Fire. Over the next couple weeks, tensions would rise politically, and suddenly two strangers would appear in the village, as if though on cue, reacting to the death of Hiruzen. They wore dark robes, and crowned on them a red cloud. Two members of the organization known as the Akatsuki, and just as you expect, they'd be run into by Kurenai, Might Guy, Kakashi, and Asuma Sarutobi. Things would not have changed. Kakashi would be plunged into the Tsukuyomi by Itachi, and now was unconscious. Jiraiya Zenin, the one who left it all behind, would make a decree to the Hokage, begging Minato to allow him to go and find Tsunade to heal Kakashi, the Lord Fourth student who was currently unconscious. Minato would shrug. Well, you're not doing anything here. I don't mind, but I'll need you back within a month. I need you to go be an informant in the Land of Wind for me. If things are going as planned on our end, then we'll be taking over that land very soon. I'll need someone capable there. And you're that man, Master Jiraiya. He'd smirk, as if though mocking his own name for his master. Jiraiya would sigh, yes, of course, for my prodigious student, anything. Speaking of which, I think I'll be taking your son with another student of mine. I trained him before the exams, you know. Minato's eyes would narrow. Oh yeah? I guess that's fine. But there's nothing about projection style you can teach him that I haven't already done. Not that you could show him anyway. He'd smirk. Yes, Minato, of course. Jiraiya would simply bow again, not wanting to grab the anger of the Hokage, especially not one so aggressive as Minato. Jiraiya had been forced by his older brother, Naobito, to train his son. Something about teaching him humility. It hadn't even worked even the slightest bit. How Kushina could have fallen for such a thing, Jiraiya never knew. But he had acted different when she was around. He at least acted nice. Whatever. He hoped there was still a chance for Naruto. Huh? Jiraiya, you really want me to come with? This place is a mess. I was just hoping to relax for a little bit, you know? He slurped down the noodles he was eating at Ichiraku Ramen. He had always loved this place, though his parents and the rest of his family had always chided him for eating here, saying it was unnatural and unhealthy, preferring their home cooks and dishes. But Naruto just couldn't get it out of his mind. He loved Ichiraku. It was so good. When he was a kid, and he had a little bit more freedom to run around before his training had started, he had come here all the time with his pocket money, but he could never say these feelings out loud. No, He had always told his grandfather and his father that it was merely him indulging in the commoner's gifts, whatever that meant, but it had worked. Naruto laughed to himself as he slurped down more ramen. Man, that's the stuff, you know? Jiraiya would sigh, grabbing him by his collar and pulling him with him. Come on, kid. We're gonna go find another one of those Sannin that you love so much. Huh? Is it Orochimaru? I'd love to kick his ass. Jiraiya would laugh again. Orochimaru would fold you over that table like you were nothing. Don't you remember your last fight? Naruto would shut his mouth. Yeah. Sure, I'll come with. I'm glad you say so. I actually have something I want to teach you too, kid. It's a jutsu I'm sure your old man would love to see you use. A jutsu he's never been able to perfect. You want to try it out? Huh? A jutsu my dad can't even master? Him? Sure, why not? I'd love to see his face when I perfect it. Naruto would say, grinning. And so their journey would begin. But not even a single minute had been spent on Naruto's training, the lure that had brought him here. In the hotel, he'd sigh as he opens the door, when the man's eyes would meet him. Red Sharingan. He'd think of Sasuke for an instant, as he'd get kicked back from the door. You're Itachi! Clan Killer Itachi! Yes, I see you're familiar with me. Does my little brother talk about me often? I'd be surprised. Sasuke never says a word about you, Naruto would lie. He wanted to piss him off. Itachi would narrow his eyes. Oh yes, I'm sure he doesn't. Not after I slaughtered our mother and father in front of him. And just like that, the fight would begin. Naruto would bite tooth and nail trying to take down Itachi, noticing Kisame in the hallway. With his projection-style sorcery, he thought he could outpace Itachi easily. He'd teleport, ripping through air in a 24th of a second, throwing multiple punches at Itachi, but it was all a genjutsu. Itachi stood in the hallway watching Naruto punch air. Enjoying your shadowboxing? Again, he'd rush in head-on. As the fight commenced, Itachi would play around with Naruto, easily observing him with his visual prowess. And finally, a scream would ring out. Itachi! Sasuke would rip down the hall with his Chidori, plunging the Chidori into Itachi's back. Or so he thought. Naruto would be barely a cinch away from the Chidori as he'd lean back, falling on the ground. Hey, what's the big idea, Sasuke? You're trying to fight right now? I have bigger things to deal with than you. What? Sasuke would be aghast as he gets grabbed by the neck and shoved into the wall. Itachi would gaze into his two Tomoe Sharingan. You're just still too weak. You need more hatred. Sasuke would fight with all his might, and finally Naruto would come in. Hey, let him go, you damn rogue traitor! He'd throw a punch in super speed, ripping through the air as he threw a kick at Itachi, successfully making contact this time. Ha! He'd laugh, but Itachi would brush himself off, lightly rubbing the dirt off his robes. As Itachi was preparing a counterattack, Jiraiya would arrive, using the toad summoning for the stomach jutsu and protecting both boys. Naruto would look in horror, wondering what this stuff was, as Sasuke fell into unconsciousness from the Tsukuyomi, the same technique that Kakashi had used on him. He too was now unconscious. Might Guy would later arrive, meeting up with Jiraiya and taking Sasuke back to the village. And finally, from here, the two would continue their journey to meet Lady Tsunade, the Slug Princess. Continuing on to the next town, the two would hear a bustling of gambling, dice, and coins clinking. They'd reached a huge gambling city in the Land of Fire. And there was where they found her, in a haze of sake and smoke, and debt. Tsunade Senju, the granddaughter of the first Hokage, and the only one who could heal the comatose patients Kakashi and Sasuke from the Uchiha traitor, Itachi. Jiraiya would point her out in the bar. That's her. This is a legendary Sannin. She looks like she's been dragged through a gutter, and she smells like it too. Tsunade would slam her cup down, her eyes sharp despite the amount of drinks she's had. And Jiraiya? Who's this? Her eyes would focus on Naruto's robes. Oh, a little Zenin brat, huh? I recognize that arrogant tilt of a chin anywhere. You must be Minato's boy. She'd throw back another drink. I am Naruto Zenin, and you will be returned to Konoha to serve your village. This is not an invitation, it's a decree from the Hokage. Naruto would nod, following his powerful statement. A decree? Tell Minato he can take his decrees and his great clan and bury them. Konoha's just a village of fools, dying for a pile of leaves. Only an idiot would want to be a Hokage. Naruto's chair would fly back. He'd stand harshly, his voice trembling with fury. You dare? You'd speak of my father's title, the throne of the Zenin, as if it were trash. You're just a coward who ran away because you couldn't handle reality. This is our world. People will die. That's what it means to be a shinobi. Tsunade continued laughing, merely at the hypocrisy of it all. This brat telling her what it meant to be a shinobi? You want to fight, kid? Let's step outside. I'll show you what reality feels like when it punches you in the ribs. The sound of wind would whistle through the empty street. As the countdown by Shizue would begin, Jiraiya would yell out for Tsunade to take it easy on the kid. And begin! Tsunade would rush forward. Naruto would try his hardest to now create the Rasengan. Just merely in the last few days, Jiraiya had finally started teaching him, showing him the rotation using the rubber ball and trying to train him. And Naruto had gotten the first 2 steps fairly easily. After all, his basics in jutsu were far higher. He had much better chakra control, so why wouldn't he? But he still hadn't reached the 3rd step. He'd yell out harshly, "Rasengan!" with his fake Rasengan. Tsunade would laugh, simply flicking a finger at the ground. Fine! And with that, he'd move away from the earth-shattering boom, giving up on using the Rasengan here. The sheer force of her chakra, though, would break Naruto's concentration. He would be sent tumbling through the air, landing hard against a stone wall, as Tsunade would approach him menacingly. Was that your pathetic attempt at the Rasengan? Not even your father could master it, and he was a genius. Naruto would continue gritting his teeth. As you can see, she'd gesture at the destruction. Just because you're fast doesn't make you strong. She'd flick him in the forehead band, sending Naruto back against the wall again. He'd wipe the blood from his mouth. I'm not done, she'd laugh. I can destroy a whole mountain in just a millisecond. You're pathetic. Jiraiya would finally intervene. Enough, Naruto, she's right. This is why you can't grasp the Rasengan. You're trying too hard and you're too rigid in your combat. You need to flex out of it. Tsunade would turn, laughing. He'll never learn it. Not in a week. Not in a lifetime. He's far too much like his father. No soul at all. Naruto would stand, his eyes flashing with a mix of pride and malice. A week? I'll master it in 3 days. He'd hold his fingers up. And when I do, you'll come crawling back to Konoha to admit that the Zenin name is the most powerful clan, not the Senju. Tsunade would laugh. Fine. If you can even manifest a stable Rasengan in a week, not even in combat, I'll admit I was wrong. But if you fail, you have to give up that ridiculous dream of being the Hokage and go back to being your father's little puppet. The next 3 days were a descent into madness. Naruto's hands were getting shredded from water balloons that wouldn't pop. Gah! He'd scream in his own hand. Why isn't it spinning? He began to realize the conflict. His projection sorcery was completely different from the Rasengan. No wonder his father had taken so long to learn it. The Rasengan was about pure acceleration and force, while his projection style maintained a rigid requirement, the need to pre-program all 24 movements instantaneously. The Rasengan was much different. It was a consistent drain, a mental chakra control different from his own Kekigenkai, and it was causing him problems. Naruto would grit his teeth even harder as Jiraiya said, "You need to relax. You're never going to get it if you keep stressing yourself out like this. Calm your mind." No, damn it, no! As Naruto tried even harder, he'd activate his projection-style jutsu. Instead of trying to spin his chakra randomly in one direction, creating a randomized power, he began to project 24 different layers of rotation simultaneously. He wasn't making one Rasengan. He was creating 24 overlapping ones. Rasengan! The sound of a massive explosion would cause the ground to cave in. The blue sphere he had created was unstable, flickering with a terrifying and stuttering light. It was not the smooth Rasengan that his father had created, or the one Jiraiya had shown him. It was a specialized technique that perfected his unstable Rasengan into a weapon that could hit 24 times instantaneously. It was even stronger than Jiraiya's Rasengan, though the amount of chakra control to perform the jutsu in this manner was simply immense. Jiraiya could hardly believe his eyes. He'd never seen someone from his clan use something like this in such a way. Naruto was quickening his ability to use chakra control to form the base Rasengan, something that took him much longer in his regular form. But by casting projection on it, he was able to speed up the Rasengan's formation and even give himself more time to focus on it, which enabled him to create a projection-style Rasengan. And finally, the day had come. The three-way standoff between the three Sannin, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Lady Tsunade. Naruto would scowl at Orochimaru. "That snake bastard's here. That's perfect. I'll show him my new jutsu and wipe him down flat." The fight would be epic, summons appearing out of nowhere, Naruto trying to get out of the fight, but he'd be distracted by Kabuto, the same bastard from the Chunin exams who had disrupted his team and had been the one to fight Kakashi. And Naruto would give it his all, fighting in Tsunade's stead when she froze in the trace of blood. He'd smirk. "This is why you should watch how a real man fights!" He'd grab Kabuto's fist and take the attack, blood spurting down his palm, as with his other hand, he'd cast projection style on his half-finished Rasengan, doubling, tripling, and quintupling the power into 24 instances of the exact same Rasengan, hitting all of them into Kabuto at that moment. Kabuto would get blown away, his arm being ripped off from his body from the amount of force Naruto had acquired into his Rasengan. Kabuto would go flying into a boulder, falling unconscious, amazed at the amount of power this boy had gained. Tsunade watched in amazement. This kid was able to create such a powerful Rasengan, and in only 3 days. With that, Tsunade would concede, though she still maintained her position that the role of Hokage was a failure. Naruto would throw his ass back. Naruto would grimace. Speaking of which, if you've made it this far, then type grimace shake in the comments down below. I'll get it. We'll see who else does. Continuing on from there, Naruto, having taken out Kabuto and winning Tsunade's side, would have successfully completed his mission with Jiraiya, bringing Tsunade back to heal Kakashi and Sasuke, though she wouldn't be in the village long. She had long since despised the place since the Fourth had taken it over. Tsunade would pay respects to Hiruzen's grave, greet Naruto and Jiraiya, and depart quickly with Shizune. Kakashi and Sasuke being healed, we'd be back at the hospital. As the hospital scene would unroll, Sasuke would be frustrated, feeling the curse mark on his neck burning, Itachi's words ringing in his ears. "You're not strong enough, Sasuke. You need to have more hatred. You're just a weakling, a failure. I left you as a spare." Naruto's words echoed too. "You fake little Uchiha. Nothing you do will be better than me." Sasuke had had enough. He turned to Sakura, who had taken Naruto begrudgingly to see Sasuke now recovered. "Hey, Naruto. You and me on the hospital roof. Now." Naruto would raise an eyebrow. "Huh? You want to fight me in your condition?" "Didn't you see? At least I was able to somewhat keep up with Itachi. You're just asking to get your ass beat, aren't you?" "Let's find out." And they got to the roof, Sakura would watch in horror, trying, begging them not to fight. But Sasuke was done. He was tired of hearing Naruto's remarks about his clan, about his vengeance, and about Itachi. As the two fought, eventually we would come to the scene where Sasuke charges up his Chidori. Naruto would start his projection style and his Rasengan, but as the two came closer together, before Kakashi could even reach them, Naruto would become flat. He hadn't expected Sasuke to change position. Not like that. As Kakashi moved between them, Naruto would be frozen. Kakashi would grab him and Sasuke and throw them, Naruto's panel shattering as his own Rasengan would explode into the water tower. Sasuke's hand would be ripped out of the water tower itself, water leaking in front of him from the piercing attack. Kakashi would lecture them, saying you shouldn't use such powerful attacks on your allies. Naruto would scoff, saying this kid had talked tough, but guess he needed someone to step in for him, huh? Naruto would say scathingly. Naruto would do a backflip over the hospital fence, landing to the ground below. As he looked up, he'd grin. Hey, emo kid! While his Rasengan had only done a small circle of damage to the water fountain, not even enough for the tower to leak water, Sasuke would leap over, seeing the damage Naruto had caused behind. The repulsive destruction that had ripped all of the water and the metal out from the back of it. Far more destructive than his Chidori had been. You! Naruto would laugh. Well, there's our answer, isn't it? As he'd disappear. If Kakashi hadn't grabbed me, he would have skewered me in two with that attack. Naruto was a little shaky. When had Sasuke gotten that strong? And why had he let himself almost get caught by his own attack? How careless could he be? The next couple hours would feel like a flash. Sakura would beg Sasuke not to leave. Please don't leave the village, Sasuke. If you leave and I'm stuck here with him, at least let me join you, she'd say. Sasuke would shake his head. It's too dangerous for you, Sakura. Better here with that guy than out there and being attacked by this place. Haven't you seen what they've done? What the Leaf Village is doing to the land surrounding the Land of Fire? I've had enough. And I'm tired of Naruto's mockery of me too. I need to get stronger fast. And Orochimaru, well, he may not be a great guy either, but he touches neck. He will lead me to the path to power. And I'll come back for you, Sakura. Sasuke would reach to Sakura's face, pulling her in tightly and giving her a kiss. I promise I'll save you from this place. Sasuke's eyes were filled with determination, even that beyond vengeance. I'll become strong. I'll take down Itachi. And then, he clenched his fist. I'll become the Hokage. With that, Sakura would be left in tears, as Sasuke would leave her behind, leaving the village with the Sound 4. Sakura would not be the one to report Sasuke leaving. In fact, he'd have several hours of advance notice. But, eventually, people would come to notice Sasuke's disappearance. Kakashi would alert the Hokage, with Minato ordering Naruto and the rest to go after the last Uchiha and return him to the village no matter what. In exchange for Itachi's collaboration, Minato had ordered to protect Sasuke, and until the time came where Itachi's usefulness had expired, that would continue to be the truth, though he wouldn't tell his Genin this. Shikamaru, Choji, Neji, Rock Lee, and of course his own son Naruto would be assigned, with the original Konoha group being sent. Naruto would be sent ahead, being the only one with the speed to catch up to Sasuke and the rest. Everyone else simply followed behind to take out any Sound 4 who remained to block his path. And finally, Naruto would reach it. The sky over the final valley, a deep purple like a fresh bruise. Rain fell in jagged sheets, blurring the faces of two stone titans, the first Hokage and Madara Uchiha, who stood as silent witnesses to a dying friendship between two boys. What little was there to begin with. Naruto would stand on the surface of the river, with the poise of a king. His robes would drip with droplets of water, while across from him stood Sasuke Uchiha, coated in a flickering aura. As black markings expanded over him, the curse mark had increased his power. We hear the sound of rushing water, distant thunder, and the crackle of lightning. As Naruto would yell out to Sasuke, "Why, Sasuke? I beat you in a fight and you run like a thief? You're supposed to be the last of the Uchiha, one of the great clans. Now you're just giving me another mess to clean up. Maybe I should just finish the rest of you off, you and your older brother." "Don't compare me to Itachi, Naruto," Sasuke would say. "You and that entire village are full of deranged freaks. Do you have any idea what your father, the fourth, is doing to the Land of Wind? Have you heard nothing of what the Land of Fire is becoming? I'd rather work with a terrorist to become strong than you. I'd rather do anything than live in that village for a moment longer. The clans mean nothing. Everything bends before the Hokage's whim, Naruto. That's why I will become the Hokage." Sasuke would look up, his Sharingan spinning with a desperation he had never seen. His Tomoe emerging into a third Tomoe Sharingan, the pain behind them illuminating to Naruto. Sasuke, you could never become the Hokage. Not so long as I'm alive. That seat will become mine one day. It was promised to me this whole time. Sasuke would growl to the Uchiha. If you don't come back like a good boy, I'll be forced to treat you as a rogue ninja. And you know how we handle those. You don't get it. I'm not just leaving because I hate the village. I'm leaving because I hate what you've done. What your family's done to the place. We're no better than common thugs. I refuse to be that. Orochimaru might be a monster, but he offers me a path to strength. And I'd rather be a slave to him than a pet dog of the Leaf Village anymore. Sasuke! Naruto! The two would clash, lunging, fighting, batting at each other, feet hitting water as the water droplets would splash, chakra against chakra. Naruto reappearing behind Sasuke's guard, palm thrusting him forward with a stuttering high-frequency speed. Even using his frame-styled Rasengan, Sasuke was ready. He anticipated the intent, a clash of metal on skin, as Sasuke would grab under the attack, grabbing Naruto's wrist even at that speed. He was able to comprehend him now with the Tomoe Sharingan, the three Tomoe just letting him keep up. Zenin, you're not better than me anymore. The piercing sound of 1,000 birds would fill the waterfall as the Chidori would ignite around his hand. It was a roar of a dying thunder god. He'd slam black onyx lightning through Naruto's shoulder, his cursed seal spreading to stage 2 as Naruto yelped in pain, blood soaking his robes. Naruto would stagger back, feeling the blood soaking through his arm. Sasuke could have killed me there. He was feeling something else now. Naruto, for the first time since being a child, was experiencing fear. How dare you! Naruto would leap as the fox's roar within him would explode. I won't be lectured by the ghost of a dead failure clan! As Naruto leaped, he used the sheer power of the Nine Tails, as a massive orange vermilion Rasengan would appear. Sasuke would meet him midair, his wings growing into grotesque hand-like shapes. Sasuke channeled everything. His vengeance on Itachi, his honor for his clan, his love for the village he had once known, and his hatred for this world and what it had done. His hatred had grown strong enough, and not just at Itachi, at everyone who had wronged him, everything that had pushed him down this path. Sasuke would yell out into the final obsidian Chidori, as the sound of a cataclysmic explosion would create a ball of light, the waterfall of the final valley being stalled by their attack, as water would be thrown hundreds of feet up into the air. Kaboom! In the center of the white sphere of light, time seemed to stop, and Naruto saw Sasuke's face. But his face was filled with determination of his own will, and for just a second, the Zenin heir felt a pang of envy in his heart. If only I could be like that. As the mist would clear, Naruto would be laying on the rocks at the base of the statue of Madara. His robes shredded, his emblem of the Zenin clan caked in mud. Sasuke stood over him. Sasuke would pull a kunai out of Naruto's ninja bag, carving a line down his headband. A deep horizontal scratch, proof that he was leaving his life here behind. As Sasuke turned to walk off into the tree line, disappearing into the land of sound, Naruto would scream out through the pain. I'll hunt you down. I'll take you down no matter what. Next time, I'll be far stronger. I'll be the strongest. Hours later, Kakashi would arrive. Lifting up Naruto and throwing him on his back, he'd return him back to the Zenin compound, where he would be recovering internally. Later, Naobito, his grandfather, would arrive, but he didn't offer comfort. He only had an unreadable look. You let the Uchiha escape, Naruto. Even using the power of that filthy beast and our clan's greatest asset, you failed. Naruto stared up at the ceiling, tears mixing in the rain. He was so fast. He read my every move. Every one of them. Damn it. Then, we'll have to make sure you never lose focus again. Get up. We have work to do. This village believes you to be a hero, but I know you're just a disappointment. I'll give you 3 years to clean up your act. Otherwise, I'll discard you like a branch member and cast you from my family, losing to an Uchiha." Naruto would stand, his body broken, but his spirit hardened. He felt colder, an empty space in his heart where Sasuke had stood. The affection and warmth that Naruto had built with Sasuke was gone. All he wanted now was to put that brat back in his place and show him that he was nothing special. He couldn't change anything. This was the shinobi way, and he better get back with the program because no one could disrespect his clan and get away with it. And so, part 1 of Naruto would come to an end. But Naobito wouldn't be so kind as to let Naruto leave with Jiraiya to go train for the 3 years. No. Instead, he ensured that he was trained by a proper master, with Naruto being enrolled forcibly by his grandfather into the Anbu Black Ops, to be trained under the hand of Danzo Shimura. Perhaps Naobito's close friend would be able to reshape this failure. And so, 3 years would pass. With Naruto being trained under Danzo, Naruto would be pushed to his limits, broken over and over again, and rebuilt. That would be the next 3 years of his life. During these 3 years, the expansionism of the Land of Fire would grow rapidly, pushing into the Land of Wind, and finally, repercussions were beginning. However, the Raikage's calls would not be answered, because the Kazekage had already been attacked by the Akatsuki, and had his one-tails extracted, leading to the death of Gaara. When the Land of Wind did not answer, all hell broke loose, as the Raikage, combined with the Mizukage and Tsuchikage, would declare war upon the Leaf Village. A great shinobi war. Let's return to our story. Well, that's a bust, Naruto would say. He had been going on missions with his Anbu Black Ops team member, Sai, working underneath Lord Danzo to hunt down any rogue ninja, and his target, of course, was mainly Sasuke. That base seemed promising too, Naruto would say. What a shame. I was really hoping to crack his face open finally. Now, Naruto, you know what Lord Danzo would say. You need to empty yourself of such emotions. Or would you like to be returned back to training? Not a word of this, Sai. You know I'm just kidding, right? It's just a joke. Yeah, just a joke. They'd head back to the route Anbu, reporting to Danzo the findings. Orochimaru's base was completely dry, empty. No signs of any experiments or of people. There had been word throughout the Anbu forces that Orochimaru had been building his forces and was even allying himself with the Raikage, although none of this could be confirmed. Ah yes, we did find that though. Sai and Naruto would pull forth a scrap of paper, evidence they had collected that the Akatsuki was working with Orochimaru, specifically Sorcery of the Red Sand. He had been a particular target of interest for them. With their constant war going on with the Land of Wind, it was likely that he'd be able to take the power as the seat of Kazekage, even as a rogue ninja due to his strength and notoriety. If he were to return now, he could get the country to back him. And the Leaf Village had been watching out for such an event. Though none had come. It seemed he had been related to the incident capturing the current Kazekage though. That was good to know. Good work, both of you. I suppose you may retire for now, then. I'll be sending you out on another mission shortly. Yes, Lord Danzo. And so a few more weeks would pass. No word of Sasuke passing the ears of Naruto. He was getting impatient. It's been 3 years already. I'm just itching for a fight now. Where are you? And that snake master of yours. But word would soon come. A letter delivered by Hawk, the hawk poofing into smoke after it arrived at the Hokage's desk. A declaration of war. I am Sasuke Uchiha, the leader of the Taka. Minato's eyes would widen. Sasuke allegedly has killed Orochimaru and taken over all of his forces as the leader of the Sound Village, now named the Taka. He's declared war on the shinobi villages. This is getting to more of a headache than I thought. And so, the war would have begun. all shinobi villages would be involved, with the Wind Village having already been subjugated by the Land of Fire. Now, a massive empire of wind and fire versus the Akatsuki, the Taka, and the allied shinobi forces. With the Great Shinobi War being declared, the Akatsuki had to make their move quickly. Their plans forced to speed up if they wanted a chance to claim the tailed beasts before their Jinchuriki could potentially die. And so Hidan and Kakuzu would arrive at the Leaf Village, while the other Akatsuki members would take their time moving into the other villages while they were preparing to mobilize. Team 10, Shikamaru, Inu, and Choji would fight by Asuma's side until the very end. Hearing that Asuma had passed away would send a deep sadness through Naruto. He had always respected that man. He was the one who had taught Naruto about his wind release, being the only other wind user in the entire village. Naruto felt a dull pang when he heard the news. He told Shikamaru he was apologetic for his loss, and said they would avenge him by stomping out those who had caused the death of Asuma Sarutobi. And Naruto would begin training, working harder on perfecting the Rasengan. He still hadn't surpassed his father's Rasengan and chakra control being high enough that he could complete it without using projection or clones. That was Naruto's goal. With Sai's help and their off time, he began training the Rasengan, until the two would strike again. This time, Naruto would have finally mastered the Rasengan, even creating the giant Rasengan with his huge chakra reserves. Naruto also began using clones in his training, finally having learned the Shadow Clone Jutsu as an Anbu. This time, though, he had learned the secret to it much faster, due to his natural instincts, battle genius, and his upbringing. And this time, he'd be using the Shadow Clones to help him train the Rasengan, eventually finding a new variant of the Rasengan, one different from the Rasen Shuriken he came to in canon. Instead, his mindset would go into compression, focusing on the shaping aspect of the Rasengan, and creating the wind-style compression Rasengan, creating a high-density sphere. And alongside Kakashi and Sai, he would attack with Team 10's aid, destroying Kakuzu and Hidan, Shikamaru taking care of Hidan by burying him for good. And finally, the time had come for the Akatsuki to counterattack. With them having taken more of the tailed beasts, and the Land of Fire now constantly expanding into the Land of Rain, Pain could no longer watch and sit in silence. It was time for him to go capture the Nine Tails. Because the war had escalated tensions so quickly and had limited the number of ninja available, Jiraiya did not have the luxury of being mostly an intelligence shinobi. Minato had pulled him back due to his phenomenal strength, notoriety, and power, and had been using him on the front lines against the Raikage. And so, there was no knowledge of the attack before it came, no warning from the Toads, nothing. Shinra Tensei! As Pain dropped an explosive attack on the village, Minato would be the first to respond. He'd use his projection style to evade the attack, launching high in the air as his village was turned into dust. The Zenin compound would shake. As dust would fall from the ceiling, Naruto would stand from the couch where he had been leisurely eating grapes from a maidservant. What? What's happening? Naobito would roar out as an explosion would break into the compound. We'd hear the sound of electricity crackling and a scream from the old man in pain, as an extended lightning blade sword would rip through his chest, faster than he could react. Ah! What is the meaning of this? Naruto would rip the sliding doors open. Grandfather! And inside, he'd see Sasuke with his hand plunged through Naobito's chest. You die first. Then I'm going after Danzo. You know what you did to my clan, to my family. He grit his teeth, Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan burning. As Naobito would burn from the inside, Naruto would create the high compression Rasengan, yelling, "Stop it!" as he tries to attack Sasuke. Jugo and Suigetsu would appear from Sasuke's side, blocking the attack and throwing a punch powered with Sage Jutsu directly into Naruto, sending him flying back through the compound. As more Zenin rushed to the scene, Sasuke would rip his hand from the old man's chest. The Zenin were outraged, yelling to take them all out, as Sasuke would smirk. Purple energy would cover him, protecting himself and his comrades. his Susanoo. Naruto in a rage would reappear, creating the high compression Rasengan and multiple shadow clones. Hundreds of clones would blast the Susanoo with the high compression Rasengan, but Sasuke would, with a swipe of his hand, cause Amaterasu to burn the clones away. Naruto couldn't believe it. Where had this gap come from? How had Sasuke gotten so strong over him after he'd been training under the Anbu for these years? In Sasuke's mind, he'd recall everything that had happened over the last couple of days. The note he had received by Crow from Itachi Uchiha, asking him to meet. And so he had. Kisame waited outside, and Sasuke had attacked Itachi in the Uchiha compound, where the two had fought to the death. And afterwards, he had been retrieved by Obito Uchiha, who told him the truth of Itachi, how Itachi had been a puppet by Minato Zenin, how the Zenin clan had ordered the attack on the Uchiha, and how Danzo worked with them to eradicate them completely. Sasuke was furious, and not just at the 4th Hokage, at Itachi for blindly following his orders, at the Zenin clan for being so paranoid that they would wipe out his entire family for security's sake, at the village elders. Sasuke would burn it all away, starting with annihilating the Zenin clan. And he would. Despite their best efforts to escape, he had used a sealing jutsu with Karin's abilities, completely sealing down the compound. There was no escape. Outside, Minato and his guards were fighting off Pain and his 6 doubles, all of them wielding the powerful legendary ocular jutsu, the Rasengan. Pain was capable and strong, but Minato was better. Even with the little bit of sage training he had, he was able to enter into an imperfect sage mode. Combining that with his raw speed, his Rasengan, and projection style, there was no chance for them at all. He took all of them out, relishing in the opportunity to be on the front lines again, wishing he could have left his post here at the village and gone off to fight at the front line. Interestingly enough though, this time Pain's Shinra Tensei had only targeted the Hokage's office and the Zenin family compound in that same area. The rest of the village where civilians lived was mostly unharmed. That was of course with the Taka's deal with the Akatsuki. Sasuke demanded they spare the lives of the Leaf villagers. They'd done nothing wrong. They happened to be those being manipulated and controlled by the Zenin, and it was his right to take out the trash. The Akatsuki had agreed for Sasuke's aid in capturing the Ninetales in exchange for the villagers' lives. Hiyashi Hyuga, Hinata, Neji, and the rest of the Hyuga clan would all attack, leaping from their own side of the village and trying to assist the Hokage. Even as Jiraiya arrived, the battle had already ended. Minato would sigh a breath of relief as the compound of his home would explode in lightning. He'd hear screams, the sounds of children, and silence. With the thunderclap, Kiram, the lightning dragon, had struck down, attacking and slaughtering a vast majority of the Zenin clan. Minato would grit his teeth, realizing something was wrong. While Nagato and Konan would escape, not being sensed even though he had his imperfect sage jutsu. Minato would rush to the scene, with his guards and with almost half the village. When he arrived, he'd find his father Naobito, soaked in his own blood, and cold. And he'd see Sasuke Uchiha, with his son Naruto draped over his back, unconscious. Minato's eyes would turn onto Sasuke, his hand clutched around a long grass Kusanagi cutter sword, coated in lightning. Minato would growl, "You think you'll be able to escape after what you've done? I'll hunt you to the ends of the earth, for both my father and my son." Sasuke would toss Naruto to Jugo, who would hold him, as Sasuke would place his sword back in its sheath. "The Hokage's come. Finally. You're the last one of your clan remaining, and you'll pay for all of their sins." Sasuke's eyes hardened, his Mangekyo flaring, as Minato would teleport directly next to him with his projection style. "I don't think so." He'd use the Rasengan, trying to rip it through Sasuke's side and cause his innards to explode, but Sasuke was gone. Right behind you. A fist would ricochet into Minato's face as Sasuke would crack his jaw open. "So Orochimaru taught you that technique?" "Of course he would. And look how ungrateful you were. Orochimaru merely wanted my body. He had no desire to train me for anything else. I learned this jutsu on my own to counter your kind. The flying Raijin technique that you tried to destroy, along with the Uchiha. Minato's face was filled with wrath, ordering his soldiers to attack Sasuke, to kill him and take him out no matter what. He didn't give a damn anymore. Even though he didn't know if Itachi was around, his promise to him was null and void. As they all swarmed Sasuke, he'd activate his Susanoo, blocking their strikes. Chakra would ripple as he looked towards Karin, Jugo, and Suigetsu, telling them to take Naruto and run silently. He'd catch up later. But Minato wouldn't allow it. He turned saying, "You're not going anywhere," as he cast a shadow clone jutsu, sending one of his clones to attack with a massive Rasengan. Sasuke's Susanoo was starting to break. He didn't want to use a Matarasu on the villagers, and so it was time to leave. He turned towards Minato, casting a genjutsu and throwing him into the Tsukuyomi, replaying consistently the amount of sins he had caused, those he had hurt, and what he deserved. With one last attack, Minato would successfully grab Naruto from Jugo, kicking the large man back as Sasuke would retreat with the rest of Taka. Minato would hold his son, battered and bruised. Damn. At least I didn't let him take the Nine Tails, Minato would think. What a waste. I could have gone for the kill on Sasuke there. Sasuke, using the flying Raijin, would teleport out. Using his group and his own chakra, he'd teleport back to the civilian district where he had left a mark. As he teleported in, several shadows would emerge. The Konoha 11, minus, of course, Naruto and Sai. Sasuke would slump over with the rest of Taka. What happened? Hinata and Sakura would ask as Sasuke would be drenched in sweat. I couldn't get him out. I tried my best, but he was too close to Minato. The Hokage still got him. I did take out Naobito, though. Shikamaru would sigh. I can't believe all of that was true. It's good you reached out to us, Sasuke. After Sasuke had reconvened with the Akatsuki and learned the truth of the Uchiha clan's demise, he had done his own research, going through everything Orochimaru had gathered on the Leaf Village, including what had happened to Kushina Uzumaki, the truth of it all, how the third Hokage, Hiruzen, had worked with Danzo and Naobito to keep an iron grip over the Leaf Village, how they'd maintained political power, and Minato was their frontman, their strongest. With everything that was happening, Sasuke had turned to his old friends from school. He knew that they wouldn't reject him if he talked to them honestly, and it was a risk he was glad he took. Hinata's only request for her assistance was that they would try to help Naruto, to save him from this entire attack, that he had been a victim of circumstance like Sasuke had been. But the attack had been a failure. I only took out Naobito. I didn't get Minato or Danzo. The Akatsuki will be calling back for a mission with me soon, in exchange for everyone's lives. All the civilians and the other shinobi here. I promised I'd help them take out the Eight-Tails Jinchuriki. Sasuke would turn his eyes away. I'm sorry I couldn't get Naruto. I just wasn't strong enough. Karin would look irritated as Sakura would give Sasuke a tight hug, telling him he tried his best, and how she's seen Naruto over the years. Everyone was worried about him. He had changed a lot. Prior, he was just really snarky and annoying for a 12-year-old. But now, in the Anbu, he was beginning to change. Hinata would have tears in her eyes. I don't want to lose him, Sasuke. He's better than this. I know it is. Deep down, he doesn't want to be like them. I know. Everyone would look down. Kiba, Shino, Ino, Shikamaru. They all thought the same thing. They didn't want him to go down with his clan. But what could they do? If he fought on his father's side and wielded the power of the Nine Tails, this world was going to get destroyed, ripped apart. What were they supposed to do? Sasuke would hold his hand up, telling them to be quiet, as a ripple would riff through the air. Hello, everyone. Sasuke would be caught off guard. He wasn't expecting him to use this voice. Toby, yeah, you're here. I guess you're here to pick us up, huh? Don't worry about my informants. They're not going to say anything, and they don't know anything of our location. He turned, giving a nod to Shikamaru and the others who would also vanish. The younger generation of shinobi vanishing off into the shadows. Sakura would once again squeeze Sasuke's hand. I wish I could come with you. Sasuke would shake his head. You can't. If you come with, there'll be drawn suspicion to you and Tsunade. We're so close to achieving the Akatsuki's dream. With that, the Taka would teleport out with Kamui with Obito, vanishing from the Leaf Village which had been ruined by pain. Back at the Akatsuki hideout, Sasuke would explain everything that had happened, speaking with Nagato, Konan, and Obito. Well, Madara. But of course, he was the only one who knew he was truly Madara. It was part of their agreement he wouldn't reveal his identity to Nagato. Hey, well look who it is! Sorcery and Deidara would enter into the hideout. There's the Uchiha replacement. Not quite as cool as Itachi yet, huh? Heard you guys failed big time. And you sent over half our members, huh? Deidara would laugh. Maybe I should be the leader of the Akatsuki. Besides, only our team's been the one capturing any actual tailed beasts. I guess Kakuzu and Hidan did before they kicked the bucket to the Zenin kid. But whatever. Oh yeah, Sasuke, weren't you supposed to be bringing that nine-tailed Zenin brat back with you? I don't see him. We can't start the extraction yet without 8 tails, but I figured you'd at least have something to show. Toby would interject.
It was impossible. The 4th Hokage is just too strong. Not to mention Kakashi the Sharingan was at his side.
Yeah, Kakashi, whatever. I've heard he's pretty strong. Enough. We'll drop the topic for now, Nagato would say, clearly upset with his own disappointment. That village is even more of a scum pile than I thought. He didn't even think to protect the villagers, the 4th Hokage that is. He simply was bloodthirsty. The diva path that Nagato spoke through was clearly beaten. I lost all of my paths beside this one. How disappointing. The next couple of weeks would seem to go by in a flash. That is, until Nagato and Konan would stop responding to Akatsuki messages. Something had happened to them, and that something would quickly have been revealed. While the Akatsuki had been recovering their strength, preparing to take out Killer Bee, and finally acquired the 8 tails, the Raikage had information leaked to him about the attack on his Jinchuriki, and that the Akatsuki's hideout was here in the Rain Village. As a massive squadron from the Raikage's side would burst through, he'd yell out to take all of them down, as Obito would nod at Sasuke. Sasuke would grab Deidara's hand, as well as the Taka, and try to use Flying Raijin, but he was blocked. I can't. There was a seal placed around the area, the kind that blocked space-time ninjutsu. Obito would turn to Sasuke, nodding and saying that he'll use his jutsu to get us out of here. Use your Susanoo to protect everyone. I'll be back. He'd teleport out with Sorcery, Nagato, and Konan, leaving first. As the Raikage struck in, Sasuke would activate his perfect Susanoo, but his ribs would crack against the Raikage's lariat. You dare work for the Leaf Village, you scum! The Raikage would rage. There's no way I can let any of you escape now. You won't be taking our Jinchuriki. Sasuke would grimace, his Sharingan about to give out as the Susanoo would shatter. The Raikage would punch him hard in the chest with a Liger Bomb. As Sasuke would cough blood, Karin would run to his side, having Sasuke bite her to heal. Deidara would cast his own jutsu, using explosions on the Raikage and blocking the way inside. They had been ambushed. Someone had given away their information and gotten them all trapped in the Rain Village. But who? Who would have such knowledge on that? Deidara would turn his head, suspiciously looking at Sasuke. But before accusations could be made, Obito would reappear, saving the rest of the group as the land of Rain would be sieged upon by the Raikage's forces. Immediately as the Akatsuki had escaped, the Raikage would yell, saying, "After them! They can't have gone far under our sealing jutsu!" But as he said this, kaboom! A blinding, powerful light would attack the entire Rain Village, covering the base and the surrounding mile with an explosion the likes of which we had never seen until now. This was the Tailed Beast Bomb. A roar would penetrate through the area, the Raikage holding his arms up as many of his men had been blown away. He himself had barely survived with his lightning cloak. He turned, seeing the monstrous form of the Nine Tails. Minato would turn and laugh. Danzo, you've really outdone yourself. I had no idea if this would work, but it's perfect. He turned to Danzo Shimura at his side, with his arm revealed covered in the Sharingan. The man had been using the Nine Tails under his control. Naruto had been forcibly opened on his seal by Minato, used as a living weapon. Minato would sit back and watch, ordering his son, ordering the beast to release another tailed beast bomb. Destroy that pathetic Raikage, and hone all our enemies for us, Nine Tails. He turned, laughing at the beast that he had once desperately avoided, the one that had made him feel pathetic. Now, with Danzo's power and strength at his side, he was able to use the massive collection of his Sharingan that they had gathered together from the Uchiha massacre to control the tailed beast. Danzo's eye would glow with the Mangekyo Sharingan of Shisui Uchiha. While he wasn't using Shisui's specific ability, having the Mangekyo for his genjutsu was far more effective. With a scream, the Raikage would get blown back by another tailed beast bomb, eradicating him completely, with the rest of the strike force that had come to claim the Akatsuki's heads. With that, Minato would tell Danzo that's enough. He'd reseal the Nine Tails back from its 5-tail state, where its skin was barely visible, and Naruto would be covered in injuries. He'd be barely clinging to life as the Nine Tails chakra desperately healed its host. Danzo would sigh. Minato, that attack took a lot out of me, you know. I wasn't sure if I agreed with your idea of making your son the holder of the Nine Tails, but it all worked out in the end, didn't it? Minato would laugh. I would have been using him like this way earlier too, if only my old man wasn't around. That old man of mine. He was so strict on me, but always kind to this one. He'd kick Naruto lightly in the ribs, causing him to wince in pain. If it was just me and he wasn't around, this kid would be a lot different, that's for sure. Danzo would laugh. Yes, Naobito. For someone so strict on his own son, he was quite gentle with his grandson. With that conversation, Minato, Danzo, would drag Naruto back to the Leaf Village. Returning now having eradicated the Raikage, all that was left was the Mizukage and the Tsuchikage. But deep in Naruto's unconsciousness, something was changing. He'd open his eyes. Where was he? Behind his forehead was a splitting headache. He looked around. There were white clouds, and something was different. Something had changed. What's going on? All he could remember was that Lord Danzo had ordered him and the Hokage were going on a secret mission, and as they had gotten closer, Minato had used a sealing jutsu on him. Or was it an unsealing jutsu? He wasn't sure. But he'd never been overwhelmed like the Nine Tails like he had been until today. Was he dead? Did the Nine Tails rip out of his body and he was now a wandering spirit, or passed on? As he thought these thoughts aloud, he turned to hear giggling as a beautiful red-haired woman would appear. Her eyes sparkled, and her laugh was like the sun. I'm glad you didn't at least lose my sense of humor at least, Kushina would say in a sad tone. Are you the Nine Tails? Naruto would ask, shocked. Kushina would say, hell no, I'm not, as she'd punch her son down on the head. He'd fall over before getting up with tears in his eyes. That look, He'd see the whiskers. You must be... Naruto's eyes would fill with tears. You're my mom, aren't you? He'd put his hands in his face. Oh, I can't stop. He'd think back to all those nights, all those times where he had been alone, his father and grandfather ignoring him, his father at the Hokage's office. He never had a mom. He had always been so jealous of everyone else. He'd always put on an act that he was better than them. He wanted to know her so badly. His family talked so poorly about her when he was around, even behind closed doors. He had always been admonished for being a half Uzumaki, for not truly being a Zenin clan member, for Minato's mistake. But he knew all this time there must have been a reason. As Naruto cried into his hands, Kushina would wrap her arms around him, chiding her son. You're so big now. What's going on? What's happened? Naruto would tell her everything, and as he spoke, Kushina would become more and more furious. What? What? No. No, that bastard! Naruto would start to get scared as Kushina would continue to get more and more aggravated. Ugh. He thinks he's some clever, huh? Kushina would explain everything. What the Minato she knew was like when he was a child. She hadn't noticed how the Zenin clan had behaved when she was around, but they must have been doing it intentionally. To think even he was... That's such a shame. She had always known that old Naobito was a bastard, but Minato occasionally could look kind. Was it all an act? Regardless, she'd grab her son's hand. I've always loved you. None of this is your fault. As Naruto listened to her speak, he'd realize something. He'd realize that maybe it was okay that Sasuke had taken them out. As Kushina talked about her life and what it had been like, how from an outside perspective the Zenin clan appeared. He tried to defend themselves a few times, but what was there to say? Even the truth about the Uchiha clan was something he had known, something he had chosen to ignore. Naruto would clap his face. You know there's only one way for you to make this right. You need to apologize to your friend. Me? Apologize to Sasuke? Why would I ever? As he turned, Kushina would hit him in the head again. Ow! What was that for, you know? That's better. I was whacking you for talking like that. Kushina and her love had transformed Naruto. He was now thinking about things from her perspective and everything that his father had done. Naobito, the Zenin clan, and Sasuke. Kushina would look around, her hand beginning to fade. Alright Naruto, we're running out of time. I'm going to help you with taming down the Nine-Tails power. If we can do this, you'll be able to access most of its power. And that should give you enough strength to take out Minato, once and for all. Once you send him over to this side, I'm gonna have a good talking with that little bastard. Naruto gulped. Do you really think I can do it? Do you think I can actually be stronger than the Black Flash? Once again, she clasped Naruto's face. It's not if you can, you're going to. You have to. This is the world at stake here. And I know you're better than this. You're better than him. Put your all into it, alright? I'm proud of you, my son. Halfway back to the Leaf Village, Naruto would begin to stir. Both Danzo and Minato would turn looking down, wondering what was going on. As Minato's eyes would flash. Is that Kushina's chakra? Danzo would say. Both would jump back, dropping Naruto, as Naruto would begin to be covered in a golden light. His body would be covered in the KCM-1 cloak, ensured by Kushina's chakra chains. As Naruto began to pull himself up, the two would stare in horror. Naruto, looks like you got down the Nine-Tails power. See, I told you this mission would be good for you, Minato would say, in a coy, fatherly voice. Danzo would scratch his chin. Yes, very good. It seems that you've gained mastery over the Nine-Tails power. How splendid! Before Danzo could finish his sentence, Naruto would appear beside him, his projection-style sorcery having improved by leaps and bounds. With the Nine-Tails power now under his hand, he'd rip through Danzo in a single kick, slicing through the man, his eyes burning golden. I'm done, he'd say, eyeing down his father. Minato's eyes would widen. Naruto, you don't know what you're doing. He'd growl. I'm so close to attaining this perfect world. I'll have everyone under our boot. You'll inherit a perfect paradise for you to rule. There's no need for you to revolt now. Danzo would reappear using the Izanagi. Naruto had sensed it though. So that's why you took out the Uchiha, huh? So you could take their ocular prowess? No, Naruto. You know it's a bit more complicated than that. Minato would growl, his fingers twitching. I'm not above putting you down. You need to obey the Hokage and obey your father. Naruto's eyes would twitch. Hell no. With a single blitz, he would outpace Minato's projection-style sorcery, moving ahead of him, and his hand would hold a black orb. Tailed Beast Bomb! Rasengan! Minato would create the Rasengan, clashing it into the Bijudama. Danzo would try to sneak up behind Naruto to attack him, but Naruto was prepared. He'd bite his thumb, pushing it down as he used the summoning jutsu. Summoning Gamabunta. I said I wouldn't take orders from you, you annoying little brat. Naruto wouldn't turn to him, he'd simply say, please, Gamabunta would watch, seeing the chakra ricocheting between the Hokage and his son, and Danzo. Minato's eye would twitch. "I've trained with you, Gamabunta. This boy, he's gone mad by the Nine Tails. Help us!" Naruto's mouth would twitch. "The only one who's gone mad here is you. I'll send you to hell for what you did to Mom. You'll never get to see her, and she'll never get to kick your ass after I'm done with it!" Naruto would overpower Minato's Rasengan, charging more chakra into the Bijou Bomb until it was double, triple the size. It would explode through the Rasengan, ripping through Minato's arm and his torso. As Minato would scream in pain, his body would be torn asunder, ripped to shreds, and exploded. All of Minato would disappear, vanishing in an explosion of light. Danzo would be watching, his eyes filled with shock. You would kill your own father? Your own flesh and blood?" Naruto would breathe out. "You can finally rest easy, Mom." He turned to Danzo, his eyes cold. "As if he wouldn't? As if that wasn't your plan together? To use me as a living weapon, the Nine Tails. Neither of you ever cared. The only one who ever looked out for me was Grandfather, and even that was out of his own duty to his clan. He at least recognized me as a person. The rest of you," Naruto would grit his teeth, "can all go die." Naruto would kill Danzo over and 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 over again. Danzo died in pain numerous ways, sliced in half by Gamabunta's blade, punched a hole through his chest by Naruto's projection style, a Rasengan, a Bijou Bomb. Naruto would extend his hands, ripping Danzo apart with his KCM cloak. And after almost an hour of combat, the Hokage and the Lord of the Root Anbu would both lay dead at the feet of the Nine Tails Jinchuriki in the heir of the Hokage, the last of the Zenin clan, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto would head back to the Leaf Village, having done what he had sought out to do. He was finally free. With his clan gone, all that was left was the Hyuga clan and the remaining village elders. But there was essentially no one to take the place. Or was there? Naruto had an idea. He knew someone who would be perfect to take leadership now, and could help him clean up this whole mess. After getting back to the village, Naruto would begin his work right away, contacting Jiraiya, one of the last Zenin clan members, and someone who had been much different from the rest of them. Someone Naruto actually respected now. He told Jiraiya everything that his mom had said, what he had done to Minato and Danzo. Jiraiya was so excited. He was practically proud, clasping him on the shoulder, saying he knew he could do it. He was so excited to see that he really had been named after his main character. "You're what? Oh, did Kushina never tell you?" Naruto would listen as he heard the story behind his name. Minato hated it. Naobito was alright with it since Jiraiya was able to spin it as being named after him. But the story was of Naruto, a great, cool, and powerful ninja who was kind and never gave up on his word. That was the story that Jiraiya had been writing when he wanted to be an author, which was part of why he had been kicked out of the Zenin clan. Naruto smirked. That's the reason? I always thought it was because you couldn't use our Genkai. Jiraiya would chuckle. Well, they could have just made me a house butler or something, but I think I was too wild for them. With Naruto begging him, Jiraiya would agree to be reinstated as the temporary Hokage until this whole mess could be blown over, until they could atone for the villages and everything that had happened. But things weren't so easy. Sasuke and the Akatsuki were still out there, and the war had not ended. If anything, the other villages were more emboldened now than ever. With the Raikage and Minato having been taken out, there was no one left to stop the Tsuchi and Mizukage from pushing further into land and taking more power for themselves. When Naruto started implementing these changes, people around the village began to notice. Things were getting different. They were starting to be better. We see Naruto returning down a very familiar street. An old man, even older now, was selling masks. He'd stop by saying, "Hey, how's it going?" dropping off a pouch of support money to help him rebuild his shop as he continued on to Ichiraku Ramen's. "Hey, Taiuchi, how's it going?" And just like this, Naruto was slowly trying to rebuild Konohagakure, trying to help the village recover. Of course, the Akatsuki and Sasuke weren't in on these details. From their perspective, it seemed Naruto had instigated himself as the new Hokage, making things even more tumultuous. It doesn't change the truth, Pain would say. Naruto was on his last legs. He could barely even move anymore, now tied to that metal rod of his. We must still recapture the Nine Tails. A whole bunch of other chaos would happen, but here's what I see happening next. Eventually, with the other tail beasts being captured outside of Eight Tails, Naruto and Sasuke would reunite, with Sasuke asking and questioning Naruto if he's really changed. Naruto would bow his head, allowing Sasuke to strike him down if he so desired. With Naruto repenting for his sins and everything that had happened, Sasuke was stunned. He would reunite with the village, leaving the Akatsuki behind and allying with Naruto. Sakura being thrilled that he's no longer a rogue ninja, with Jiraiya still as acting Hokage. Naruto would ask Sasuke if he can really forgive him for everything that his clan had done, to the Uchiha, to everything. And Sasuke, after all these years and everything he'd gone through, would say it would take some time, but if you really mean it, I'll give you a chance. And of course there was Hinata. Hinata would start getting close to Naruto once again, realizing that Naruto had somehow changed, and he was making up for everything that had happened. But life isn't so easy. The Akatsuki's motives were still there, the war still ongoing. However, with Sasuke and Naruto together, they would try to overcome everything. With Naruto even telling Sasuke he thinks he should be Hokage. It'll take some time, but for now Jiraiya's managing it. But after we can wrap up this war, and everything else, I think you'd be the great fit for it, Sasuke. Naruto would smile. It was a genuine one. From here, things kind of wrap around again, with the Akatsuki using the Gedomazu statue, capturing Eight Tails without the Raikage around, and the war continuing to become the allied shinobi forces versus the White Zetsu and everything else that happens. The only big key differences here is that Kabuto would have been taken out by Sasuke earlier, so there's no reanimation jutsu for Madara or anyone else, and the fact that Naruto is allied with Sasuke from the beginning of that war section. So when it comes down to the final battle with the Gedomazu statue, I actually think they'd be able to overcome Obito. Since Sasuke's worked with him and the Akatsuki, he would be hesitant to take Obito down for good, but with Obito's plan being revealed for the infinite Tsukuyomi to trap everyone in a limitless dream, it would come down to a final battle between the Ten-Tails version of Obito versus Naruto and Sasuke. And it's here where I think Naruto would finally strike the final blow. He'd clasp his hands together, using domain expansion, time cell of the Moon Palace. The domain expansion allowing him to apply the sure hit effect of projection sorcery onto every living cell, completely immobilizing Obito, while Sasuke and Naruto would charge using their Asura and Indra seals from Hagoromo, with the two finally having proven at rest that they could work together and finally overcoming the cycle of hatred. With that, Obito would be defeated, never regaining himself, unfortunately, but the Ten-Tails would be resealed into a new moon, 2 moons now in the sky, with Black Zetsu being destroyed by the full domain expansion alongside with Obito. With this, the war would come to an end, though the world of Naruto is left pretty much in ruins, with a lot of the leadership having been taken out. Daru would become the next Raikage, and Temari would become the next Kazekage. They'd enter between a new treaty between the Stone, Mist, and Leaf Village to once again renounce war. And Sasuke Uchiha would be announced as the 5th Hokage, with Naruto being his shadow, out traveling the world, fixing the rights of the village, and atoning for his sins. He'd be the one to discover the ruins of Kaguya's castle, and would even be adopted into the Hyuga family when he married Hinata. Naruto officially changing his last name to Naruto Hyuga, finally casting off the Zenin branch for good. And with that, I think that takes us to a pretty good point to end this story. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was kind of crazy, but I had so much fun. Introducing an entirely new clan and characters to shape Naruto's personality was huge, but I ultimately decided I wanted him to be redeemed, Because the root of the Zenin clan's problem, even from Jujutsu Kaisen, was the rot within. And Naruto and his whole character is to represent change to that cycle, to represent the incarnation of Asura who is willing to try and forgive, to let go of the hatred. So I think with Kushina's influence here being that character, this is pretty satisfying as a conclusion. I don't know, you guys can disagree. Do you think Naruto should have paid for his sins and Sasuke should have taken him down? I don't know, but I think this story has come to an end. If you guys want more, make sure to slap all the cool buttons down below and comment your favorite character and part from this story, and maybe how you would write the ending. I had a ton of fun, and if you guys want to see more Jujutsu Kaisen what ifs, go back to my second part for what if Izuku met Todo, and go like that fucking video, because I need to get 400 likes, and I will finish that entire story for the rest of My Hero Academia, kind of like what I did with this one in, just 3 parts instead of a one-shot. Anyway, I've yapped enough. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed this story. I'll see you all in the next one. Adios.